space-time transaction. Exchanging food for the elf princess at the start. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 376. The serious discussion lasted for a long time before it ended. That evening, the Kaishu delegation invited Suyi and the delegation participating in the negotiations with Shianayu Group to taste the seafood produced in the nearby waters on the island. This is also the last supper on this island. After eating this meal, this original small island reef, and later the artificial annular island, will change its appearance again and appear in everyone's field of vision in an attitude that shocks everyone around the world. According to the reminder of your group's artificial intelligence, we evacuated all the residents of the island and the troops stationed here yesterday. The remaining negotiation team and part of the logistics support team have already boarded the landing craft. The nearby sea and airspace have also been completely cleared. In the next 48 hours, no ships or aircraft will approach this 300 nautical mile radius. Then, it's up to you. On the landing craft, Old Man Lin looked at the small island below that had completely turned off all the lights, packed away all the facilities that could be taken away, and plunged into darkness. There was some emotion in the eyes. After all, this was once slowly filled in from a small island in Kyushu, but now it has to be demolished. But more of it is expectation. Shianayu Group has a super tool in its hands that can change the terrain. This matter is actually a little better informed around the world, and it is not a secret among people with some brains. What does the small island Suyi obtained from the Aosao Alliance look like before? And what does Penglay Island look like now? Anyone who is not blind can see the difference. And this change happened just overnight. This incident itself is terrifying and shocking enough. That is to say, the Shianayu Group brought out too many exploding things and attracted too much public attention. As a result, such a thing did not receive much attention, and only some interested people knew about it. Including insiders in Jiazhou. Many people in Blue Star are guessing how Shianayu Group did this until now. After eating, Suyi said that he had no intention of letting the Kaishu delegation leave when construction was going on. Instead, he generously said that not only could they watch it, but they could also take pictures. This kind of big treasure can finally see its true appearance. How can Jiazhou, as an infrastructure fanatic, not look forward to it? Are you ready? Suyi glanced at the waiting people in front of the porthole and said with a smile, "Don't blink." The next moment, a strange and loud sound suddenly came from outside the landing craft. It seemed to be the whisper of an ancient god, or an infinitely amplified version of the sound produced by some kind of mechanical friction. It was also accompanied by violent airflow. The drones released by the media present to prepare for shooting began to tremble crazily. Some of them had been used for too long, or were of substandard quality, and they were all messed up in the sudden air. Liu stalled and crashed. What's going on? Such a strange situation made Old Man Lin a little uneasy. Suyi didn't have any troubles. He had already used a planetary mining machine. He was familiar with some of the situations that would arise when such a big guy appeared. He said calmly, "The thing is relatively big, so it will make a lot of noise after it is released. Don't be surprised." Chianshu, sir. Chianshu is at your service. Permission granted to activate planetary mining machine. The license rights have been verified, and the planetary mining machine is being warmed up. It is expected to take 30 seconds. Once the warm-up is completed, the island reconstruction plan in the southern waters of Kyushu will begin, accompanied by Shianshu's formulaic answer. Outside, on the endless pitch-black sea, that seemed no different from before, a huge searchlight suddenly lit up. The size of this searchlight alone is comparable to the landing craft that everyone is riding on now. Immediately afterwards, there was a thrilling woo-woo sound from the electric motor. It was accompanied by loud noises like the ground was shaking. It was as if a terrifying giant beast from ancient times was slowly awakening. The people watching this scene in the landing craft were completely stunned. Before the searchlights were turned on, they only felt that there seemed to be something big outside the landing craft at this time, but because the sea was pitch black, They couldn't see it clearly. It wasn't until the giant searchlights like little suns were turned on that they realized what kind of behemoth appeared in front of them. When a planetary mining machine with a height of more than 600 meters, a length of 2,700 meters, and a width of 400 meters appeared on the blue star, people knew what it meant to be oppressed by the heavy industry of the interstellar world. At this time, the flying height of the landing craft was about 200 meters above the water, and the depth of this sea area was less than 50 meters. After the planetary mining machine is fully powered on, the people in the landing craft can see through the searchlight a terrifying mechanical leg that extends to an unknown height into the sky. And the bottom operating module of the mining machine is filled with various gears and knives used to crush rock storage materials. Under the planetary mining machine is the small artificial island. At this moment, it looked so weak, pitiful, and helpless in front of this behemoth. The planetary mining machine is more than 600 meters high, nearly 3,000 meters long, and more than 1,400 meters wide. It is about that big. The main purpose of this thing is actually not to reclaim land, but to mine. Put it on a solid planet about the same size as Blue Star. In at most 20 years, it can hollow out the entire planet. Using it to fill the sea and build land is somewhat of a waste of natural resources. However, with the current industrial capacity of Blue Star, if it really wants to find a planet to mine, it can't digest so many minerals. If it really finds a resource planet rich in minerals, it can mine and simply smelt tens of millions of tons of semi-finished metal blocks in a day. So, Yi explained a few words briefly, and the old man Lin on the side was already dumbfounded. When supporting the magic world before, there was a period of time when the inventory of some raw materials in the Jiuzhou military factory was insufficient, such as copper and iron. And because it was not wartime, according to the rules, the reserves in the national warehouse could not be moved. The existing ones in other civilian fields all have their own uses, which made the military factory very embarrassed for a while. Especially copper. The reserves of this thing in Jiuzhou are not much, most of them rely on imports, and the cycle is very long. It is difficult to solve the problem without moving the strategic reserves in a short period of time. Until Xianyu Group knew about this, then they sent 50 million tons of semi-finished copper ingots at once, saying that there were more if they were not enough, and asked the military factory to make as much as possible. At that time, the people in the Jiuzhou officialdom, especially the people in the resources department, were still very surprised. After all, there were only so many minerals produced on Blue Star every year, and they could be found wherever they went. There were suddenly tens of millions of tons of copper, and it was not ore, but semi-finished copper ingots, which was a bit too magical. Later, after knowing that there was a magic world, people in Jiuzhou speculated that this might be what Suyi got from another world, which was no problem and very reasonable. Later, as they became familiar with the magic world, they found that Xianyu Group had never mined here before. Until today, I saw this thing. Old man Lin finally knew where the various metal materials of Xianyu Group came from. Chapter 377. For a long time, the various products of Xianyu Group are usually known for their advanced technology in solid materials. This is most obvious in the Sentinel-2 medium exoskeleton armor purchased in large quantities by Jiuzhou. In Jiuzhou style, this thing must be disassembled after it is bought. After disassembly and analysis, Jiuzhou's engineers found that many of the positions and parts that they thought were completely insignificant and would not affect the combat effectiveness at all were also provided by Xianyu Group. As if they did not care about cost control at all. The materials used were ridiculously solid, and it could not even be considered as using materials. It would not be an exaggeration to say that they piled up materials. This problem has always puzzled engineers. People piled up materials to build cars because there are competing products, and they must cut profits to seize the market. However, there are no competing products for these products of Xianyu Group. This kind of piling up materials that does not improve performance much is not an exaggeration to say that it is a waste. For this reason, some people in Jiuzhou specifically consulted engineers from Xianyu Group and the results were speechless. Design redundancy. This is their reply. The main point is arrogance. It seems that they don't care about the consumption of these materials at all. Until now, Old Man Lin knew why Shianayu Group didn't care about the consumption of these basic materials. Damn, one machine can produce tens of millions of tons of crude steel in one day. With such a super productivity tool in hand, who will care about those small consumptions? Such a big guy, built just for mining. Even if he saw it with his own eyes, Old Man Lin still felt a little unbelievable. The main function is mining, and the additional functions. Look, didn't you see it? Suyi shrugged. This is a mechanical behemoth that can change the surface of the planet. It is the pinnacle of heavy industry. As long as you let go of your mind, it has many functions. To be frank, as long as you are willing to spend time researching and investing with its ability, you can completely reorganize the entire surface of the blue planet and turn those life-forbidden areas that were once daunting into a new paradise for mankind. This is not Suyi joking, but something that the planetary mining machine can really do. To a certain extent, it can even change the climate on a planet. The so-called weather weapons in those science fiction films basically exist in imagination, because the climate is essentially very complicated. Let alone changing and controlling the climate, the blue planet has developed to this point, and many times it is not even possible to accurately predict whether it will rain tomorrow. There are too many factors that interfere with the climate. The topography inside the planet, the gravity of the celestial bodies outside the planet, and the activities of the stars can all affect the climate on the surface of the planet. In the interstellar world, the environment outside the planet can also be transformed through the technological means after the Dyson sphere, but the blue planet obviously does not have such conditions now, and it seems that there is no need for such technology at present. The factors that affect climate change on the planet are often the topography, the rotation of the planet, and other factors. For example, the typhoon that occurs every year along the coast of Kyushu is itself a complex meteorological phenomenon in the Northwest Pacific. There are many factors that form it, and in special years, it may even become more intense due to the La Nina phenomenon. Under the interference and constraints of various factors, the monsoon climate of Kyushu was finally formed. The bald eagle will also face similar hurricane problems every year. When the season arrives, the two countries will rack their brains to deal with these problems and suffer heavy losses. But overall, the typhoons that ravage Kyushu are not as harmful as the hurricanes that ravage Bald Eagle. The reason for this result is that the terrain of the two countries' coasts is very different. The endless plains of Bald Eagle have almost no resistance when encountering hurricanes, and the biggest obstacle is the city on land. Kyushu has multiple barriers to block it. The towering central mountain range of southeast Treasure Island can destroy the ice structure of countless typhoons every year, causing its core to collapse before it touches the land. Even if a storm bypasses the central mountain range, Kyushu also has the Jiangnan Hills with mountains and mountains to block the storm, so that these typhoons are difficult to penetrate into the mainland and cause more damage, and can only wreak havoc in the coastal areas. In this regard, if Suyi is willing, sending this planet mining machine can completely flatten all the mountains and hills that hinder the storm. The consequences that Kyushu will be like the Bald Eagle next door, that is, the city deep inland. Once the rainy season comes, it needs to be prepared to prevent storms. But is this only a disadvantage? Obviously not. This will cause the rain belt to move northward, which will make the barren areas in the north of Kyushu revitalized, and even turn the desert into an oasis. The prices that the places where storms rage will increase. This is the most direct manifestation of what Suyi said about the planetary mining machine being able to change the planet's climate. In fact, as long as it is designed properly, the planetary mining machine can be much more complex and comprehensive than this, and even in terms of design, it only needs the benefits of the northward movement of the rain belt without having to bear the disadvantages of storms raging inland. This is the benefit of being able to control this planetary mechanical behemoth. It can really do what those mysterious climate weapons in science fiction movies can do, and it can be completely mastered by people. This is not meaningless, to use what Bailu once said to Suyi. That is, if the technological civilization wants to leave the mother planet, It must first completely master the mother planet point. The civilization in the interstellar world was highly developed before they completely left their home planet. Without planetary mining machines, they had already completed the transformation of the entire planet. Bailu did not experience that era, but she had been to school after all. She said that what she saw in the textbook was that the humans of her civilization at that time could completely control the climate of the entire planet, so that there would be no uninhabitable places on the entire planet due to climate. They developed the potential of a planet to the extreme, and there was almost no problem of climate disasters. Even after developing the planet to that extent, they once abandoned nuclear fusion and switched to almost endless geothermal energy. This transformation was achieved based on a series of super projects that even the Blue Star people thought were outrageous. Bailu even mentioned a kind of intelligent mountain range, which is simply an artificial mountain range that can rise and fall and even change its shape according to different needs when encountering a storm. This thing can rise to the highest point, destroying the core structure of the overly violent storm and making it disappear. When encountering a storm that is not so fierce and the city can withstand it, this kind of mountain will lower its height to let it pass, allowing the rain carried by the storm to nourish the earth. Even through a large number of intelligent mountain networks, it is possible to send rain from the seaside to the depths thousands of kilometers away from the mainland, turning the barren desert into a livable place with abundant rainfall. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 378. This is what the interstellar civilization next door has done. Because compared to developing resources in outer space, it is easier for the interstellar world civilization of that era to transform its own mother planet. But with the development and change of the times, the population of the tribe gradually increased. When the complete development of the mother planet was not enough to feed the huge population, they could only choose to develop outside the Earth. So there was the current interstellar civilization. Like Blue Star, the development of its own mother planet may not even be 10%, but it wants to explore the civilization outside the Earth. In Bailu's words, it is called wanting to learn to run before learning to crawl. Under the premise of lacking experience in transforming planets, even if a few people can barely leave the mother planet, it will not help the entire human group. She doesn't know what the parallel world is like, but in Bailu's cognition, people in the interstellar world believe that the creatures born on each planet are unique. If you want to develop into the universe, you must have the ability to transform a planet that is not suitable for the survival of your tribe into a planet suitable for survival. It is wishful thinking to want to find a planet that is just right for your kind of life in the vast universe and then send people there to live without doing anything. It is of course very simple to build a few research institutes and bases on a foreign planet with harsh conditions. And any technological civilization with a little ability can do it. But this does not make much sense, because a civilization that can only send a few people into space is far from a true interstellar civilization. They believe that a civilization that has the ability to transform any planet that meets simple conditions into a habitable planet can be called an interstellar civilization. The actual situation is that only this kind of civilization has the ability to allow a large number of people to leave their home planet and enjoy the almost endless resources in the universe. The current situation of Blue Star belongs to the former. If you want to build a few bases on nearby satellites and planets, there is no problem, as long as you are willing to invest. But if you want to achieve interstellar colonization and let a large number of people go to space, then you think too much, and it is impossible. Of course, this is all off topic. In fact, when the civilization, where Bailu is located, left its home planet, there was no super engineering equipment such as a planetary mining machine. This thing was specially developed for planetary level mineral collection after the interstellar era. However, it was indeed compatible with the purpose of transforming planets into habitable planets at the beginning of its design. The original intention of the designer was to have both point, but it was unexpected that after the design was completed, a competitor immediately launched another special equipment specifically used to transform uninhabitable planets into habitable planets, called a planetary transformation instrument, which is also a behemoth that is not inferior to the planetary mining machine. Others have more single functions and better effects. The functions attached to the planetary mining machine are naturally impossible to compare with those specially developed by others. Therefore, these mining machines later only promoted their mining capabilities to the outside world, and rarely mentioned their own planetary transformation capabilities. But not mentioning does not mean that it cannot be done. The design of such large-scale equipment is a very complicated task. People have designed something for mass production, and they can't just cut it off, because one of the functions is useless, so it was retained. If Sui really wants to transform Blue Star, he can do it with this thing. It's just a question of whether it is necessary. Looking at the surprised look of Old Man Lin, he simply explained the details to Old Man Lin in a half-joking tone. Some information about the interstellar world is also involved. It doesn't matter whether this thing is involved or not. Jia's house top leaders can definitely guess it. They now have a team of 20,000 people in the magic world. A lot of information about the magic world will be sent back during weekly routine transactions. It can be said that Jia's house is the one that knows the magic world best on Blue Star, except for Shianayu Group. Jia's house obviously knows that the water of life of Shianayu Group comes from the magic world. But after they understand what the magic world is like, they know that these technological products cannot come from the magic world. So, even if he doesn't say it, Jia's house has many people who know the inside story and guess that Shianayu Group's space technology has not only found the magic world, but also found another world with extremely advanced technology, and the two sides have been trading for a long time. This is a secret that is not a secret. To fully develop Blue Star is still too far away for the current Blue Star people. Old Man Lin couldn't help but sigh after listening. Let alone coordinating resources to thoroughly develop Blue Star. Now Blue Star is still broken into pieces with more than 200 countries and regions acting independently. If this is the case, what do you say about developing the mother planet and heading into space? Isn't that nonsense? That is definitely far away. The most urgent task for Blue Star is to completely unify the entire world before talking about anything else. Sui said indifferently. The interstellar civilization of that world should have also experienced this era, right? How did they achieve the transition and completely become a group? They are all human beings. At least in the current narrative, the people in the interstellar world are no different from the people on Blue Star. They are not like the aliens in some science fiction movies, where the entire group shares a brain. In this case, he doesn't believe that the current situation on Blue Star has not been experienced by the interstellar world. Sui nodded and said, it is true that it has been experienced. As for what to do, of course, we kill. There are many political regimes, insufficient resources, refugees everywhere, and fierce conflicts. Under the endless war, the monstrous killing swept our home planet. It was a great war that lasted for more than 200 years. The killing it brought was unimaginable. Even in the interstellar era, our archaeologists found it difficult to verify how many people died in that war. The final result of that war was that we had not yet walked out of the civilization of our home planet. There was no second nation, no second race. There were no various ideological forms, and we completely became a unified collective. So, we had subsequent development. These are Bailu's original words. To put it bluntly, the way they solve this problem is to open the map. Slaughter the entire world, leaving only one ethnic group to monopolize all the world's resources, and naturally complete the integration of resources and power. With few people and many resources, this ethnic group will enter a period of rapid development, and then thoroughly develop the home planet, rush into space, and enter a new era. Before walking out of the home planet, interstellar civilizations don't talk about what is right or what civilization diversity. Of course, there is also a premise. That is, the interstellar world at that time already had modern conventional weapons that were more efficient than modern Blue Star in killing people. but it did not have nuclear weapons like modern Blue Star that could destroy civilization. Chapter 379. The lack of ultimate weapons is the root cause of the interstellar civilizations fighting and eating chicken on their home planet point to a certain extent. The reason why Blue Star has developed like this now, proposing this diversity and that diversity, protecting this group and that group, is actually because the super weapon of nuclear weapons appeared too early point when the ethnic groups or political systems that are truly capable of launching a war to achieve unification are afraid of the power of nuclear weapons and dare not launch a chicken eating competition again point. In the end, everyone can only play with diversity point. Nuclear weapons did bring a short period of peace to Blue Star that lasted for decades, during which no superwar that affected the world was launched point. But in the long run, it is hard to say whether it is good or bad for the entire civilization point anyway. After knowing the general situation of Blue Star, Bailu is not optimistic that the human beings of Blue Star can leave their home planet without external interference point. When her civilization expanded in the starry sky, she saw too many similar civilizations or civilization relics. The rule that has been summarized is that if a civilization cannot achieve internal cleansing and unification, it will eventually fall into endless internal friction, unable to concentrate its strength to change its mother planet and explore the starry sky, and its research on all aspects related to the future will be limited to minor actions. In the end, it will either be discovered and destroyed by a more powerful civilization, or it will perish on its own point. Some of these examples are very extreme. For example, a civilization began to explore the starry sky tens of thousands of years ago, but it is still exploring the starry sky tens of thousands of years later. It has no ability to migrate to the universe to create more living space. At most, it has built a few more bases relying on nearby planets, and migrated tens of millions of people to them compared to tens of thousands of years ago. But this is still not related to interstellar civilization. If it encounters a real interstellar civilization, it will only be beaten. There are a lot of such civilizations destroyed by the current interstellar civilization. In their history of cosmic expansion, there is an independent thick book about the relevant records. Just kidding. When they eat chicken internally, they will kill all the different ethnic groups on the same planet, not to mention the different ethnic groups on alien planets. Naturally, there is no possibility of letting them go. There are also many that have not been destroyed, not because they suddenly have good intentions, but because they have destroyed themselves before the destruction and invasion of interstellar civilization. Only scattered gatherings of survivors are left on the planet, and there is no civilization at all. If nothing unexpected happens, self-destruction or curling up on the mother planet until encountering the destruction of real interstellar civilization is a true portrayal of the future of Blue Star. But things still happened unexpectedly. Suyi, the agent of the trading platform, appeared on Blue Star. Then no matter what, the future fate of Blue Star will obviously not be the same as those civilizations destroyed by interstellar civilization. Hearing his simple explanation and introduction, Old Man Lin fell silent again. At the same time, he couldn't help but sigh. From the perspective of civilization, a certain degree of war is not necessarily a bad thing. It is not that no one on Blue Star realizes that this false peace under the deterrence of nuclear weapons may have not so good consequences, but this kind of thing is not something that you can solve just because you realize it. In the final analysis, these are all the choices of the ethnic groups on the planet themselves. Sober individuals in technological civilization cannot influence the direction of civilization. Of course, Suyi, who has mastered the power of the trading platform, is an exception, so your appearance is a good thing for the entire Blue Star. Old Man Lin looked at Suyi and said. He didn't know the existence of the trading platform, but based on the changes and influences Suyi has made on the world in recent years, it is not difficult to guess that Suyi's appearance can change the future of Blue Star. It may not be a good thing for most people on Blue Star. Suyi smiled. Of course, he would not learn from the civilization of Bailu to directly start the Blue Star chicken eating competition and physically eliminate all people and tribes outside Jiazhou. But this is not because he is kind, but because he has other better methods, and he has enough time. And even if he doesn't need to do this, he is fully capable of mastering the resources of the world. Under the monopoly of such resources, there is no need to do such bloody things. In the long time dimension, those tribes that should disappear from Blue Star will naturally die out under his intentional control until they are completely extinct. He didn't avoid Old Man Lin about this matter. Since he had come to this point, Suyi was too lazy to hide it. Old Man Lin could only sigh that it was a good thing that Suyi was from Jiazhou. After all, in Suyi's plan, in 200 years at most, there would only be people from Jiazhou left on this planet. As for other people, Old Man Lin is not a saint. He can't care. As a mature politician and an old man in his 90s, who has seen a lot of storms, Old Man Lin quickly put aside these things that were too far away and excitedly pointed at the planetary mining machine that was stirring up the surrounding seas when it was working in front of him and said, "Mr. Su, if this thing can really change the climate, then if Jiazhou wants to dig an unprecedented canal to bring seawater to the desert in the northwest border, do you think it is feasible?" Damn it, Suyi couldn't help but twitch his eyes when he heard this. He really didn't expect that this old man even knew this kind of brainhole joke circulating on the internet. And seeing that he asked so seriously at this time, he had no doubt that Old Man Lin really wanted to try it. But it is definitely useless to ask him this kind of question. Cheyenne Shu, do you think it is possible to do what Elder Lin said? Cheyenne Shu's projection immediately appeared in front of the two of them and said without hesitation, with the current technological level of Blue Star, it is almost impossible to do it. If a planetary mining machine is added, it can be done from an engineering perspective, and the construction period will not exceed 1 year. Once completed, it can indeed greatly change the climate and landscape of the northwest border of Kashu, turning it from a barren land covered with yellow sand into a livable inland coast. Hearing this, Suyi tentatively said, but this huge project involves too many factors, such as the impact on the climate, such as the seawater pollution of groundwater sources caused by the guidance of seawater in the process of inflow, causing large areas to become saline alkali land, etc. These are all very likely to happen. Therefore, if you want to complete this project, it is not enough to have a planetary mining machine. You also need an engineering AI with a computing power not lower than mine to do it. In short, you have the ability to dig now, and if you succeed, you can indeed achieve your goal and transform the northwest environment. But how much impact will be brought during the digging process? It is difficult to predict. Without a dedicated engineering AI to calculate and solve the various problems that may be encountered, it is best not to even think about it. Otherwise there is a high probability that accidents will occur frequently after the project is completed, and the entire route will be turned into a barren land. In the end, a super project that changes the environment and benefits the people in the northwest border has become an industrial wonder, which is putting the cart before the horse. That's fine. Old Man Lin silently put away his impromptu imagination. How terrifying is the AI of Xianyu Group? It only exists in the exclamations of experts from relevant research institutes in Jiazhou. It is a dream to want to replicate it for at least 100 years. Chapter 380. Important news. After joint research by the Kyushu government and Xianyu Group, the plan to open the gate of time and space has been decided to be located in the southern waters of Kyushu. It is named the Yingzhou Island Project and officially started last night. The Kyushu Maritime Safety Administration has imposed a shipping blockade on the surrounding waters. The blockade is expected to last for 48 hours, and the specific duration depends on the construction situation, according to the data given in the official announcement of the Yingzhou Island construction plan. This super project includes, but is not limited to, expanding the existing islands and reefs in the southern waters of Kyushu, artificially building a super large island with an area of more than 1,500 square kilometers and its supporting facilities, which will then be permanently connected to the other world. The super portal is arranged on the island. According to the interviews and speeches of the official project leader of Jiazhou and the relevant engineers of Xianyu Group, the goal of the first phase of the project of Yingzhou Island is to basically complete the island infrastructure plan of land reclamation and the integration and optimization plan of the surrounding sea ecological environment. It also includes the core part of the construction plan of Yingzhou Island in the future, ensuring that after the completion of the first phase of the project, Yingzhou Island can be smoothly put into use as a bridgehead connecting Blue Star and the other world. It is reported that the first phase of the project will be completed within 3 days. Early in the morning, the people of Jiuzhou just woke up and heard a very explosive news from the morning news. At first, it was okay to hear the front land reclamation, a super project. Jiuzhou has done this before, and this time it is still cooperating with Xianyu Group. It is estimated that it is a big deal, and everyone is looking forward to it. The result is more and more magical as the report is reported later, until it was heard that the island was built to place a portal connecting to the other world. Many people couldn't hold it anymore. Although the official and Xianyu Group have released some news before, although the existence of the other world has not been deliberately promoted. It is indeed true news endorsed by the official. People who don't pay much attention to current affairs news may not know much, but those who pay attention know something. But no one expected it to be so fast. It's probably less than half a month since the last news was released. The efficiency is too exaggerated. However, before they could complain, they heard more and more explosive news. Artificially build a 1,500 square kilometer island. Many people doubted whether they were awake after hearing it. People who understand engineering only have one sentence in their minds at the first time: is this a project that humans can complete? However, the real shock is still at the end. The first phase of the project will be completed within 3 days. No, buddy, is this still Chinese? I know every word here. Why can't I understand it when it is connected together? Are you sure it is 3 days, not within 3 years? That's a big island with an area of more than 1,500 square kilometers created by land reclamation. You told me it can be completed in 3 days. It's probably an editorial mistake. The news release was written wrong. It's normal to write the wrong data in the news release, but this is official news after all. Is there no one to review it? The host is really crazy. He just read it out. When he read out this number, didn't he feel it was outrageous? This is 100% wrong. Don't think about it. I guess at least one of the relevant teams responsible for this news release will be punished with a serious demerit after this matter is over. Serious demerit? I think it's a problem whether I can keep my job. This is a big event jointly organized by Xianyu Group and the official. There are still such low-level problems in the publicity. I guess the leaders above are going to be green with anger now. Don't be so naive. The official news account has also issued a rumor refuting Post. They said that the data published in the news are all correct. Yes, this is the actual situation. I just checked it out, and it seems to be true. And they also released some information that they could achieve such a fast speed by using some of Xianyu Group's black technology. It's so funny. Anyone who has been to Penglai Island knows that this is definitely something that Xianyu Group can do. As for why, you can go to Penglai Island yourself and combine it with the news when Xianyu Group built Penglai Island and you will know it. In fact, it is not a secret. Penglai Island, the headquarters of Xianyu Group, was just a small place before they were transformed. There have been people on the internet and some domestic forums discussing how Xianyu Group did these things. Many clues are not secrets on the internet. Xianyu Group and the official are too lazy to hide them. You can find them with a search. According to the analysis of many bigwigs now, they believe that Penglai Island was built by Xianyu Group overnight. Many friends who have not been to Penglai Island may have no idea about building such a large island overnight. Those who have been there and have had some understanding know that this kind of explosive thing is really something that Xianyu Group can do. The opinions on the internet thought that this was definitely a wrong news broadcast from the beginning, and then the official news account released a clarifying article, and soon there was a polar reversal. After all, although Xianyu Group's construction of Penglai Island was not well received due to too many other explosive events, it was not very popular online. But there is always a group of people who are bored online and pay attention to such things, and those who are rich and have time even bought tickets to go to Penglai Island to take a look. In the relevant discussion circles, Xianyu Group's super fast land reclamation and construction speed is no secret. As soon as they saw the news, they naturally understood what was going on.
and they also began to explain it to those who didn't understand on the internet. They wanted to hear the ignorant people say Big Brother is awesome. However, they didn't realize that the shock this incident brought to everyone had just begun. Not long after the morning news ended, in the midday news at noon, the Kyushu official released another super explosive news. The construction of Yingzhou Island in the southern waters is in full swing. This construction is unmanned throughout the process, from land reclamation to the future construction of the core area of Yingzhou Island. No workers are involved. It is reported that the person in charge of the project of Shiranayu Group claimed that, although only one night has passed, the progress of the project has exceeded half. If there is no accident, the first phase of the Yingzhou Island project will be successfully completed in 24 hours at most. Many friends are puzzled as to why Shiranayu Group can complete such a super project so quickly, and a wave of discussion has been set off on the internet. In this regard, we have applied for relevant permits and obtained the qualification to interview at the forefront of the project. Let us contact our reporter and go straight to the construction site. Chapter 381. As the host broadcast, the next moment, another frontline live broadcast appeared in the news broadcast room. In the picture, a sweet female reporter wearing noise-cancelling headphones is sitting in front of the helicopter door. The door is open at this time, giving an unobstructed view of the situation outside. The helicopter can be seen floating on the vast sea with the naked eye, and the most attention-grabbing thing in the picture is naturally the huge steel beast at work. Under the sun, the dark paint of the planetary mining machine exudes a strong metallic luster, and the huge Shiranayu Group logo printed on it shines brightly. Hello, everyone. This is the frontline live broadcast of the Yingzhou Island project in the Southern Sea area. I believe you have seen that the land reclamation operation being carried out below is the super engineering machine from Shiranayu Group, planetary mining machine. According to the information we received from the relevant person in charge, the planetary mining machine was originally an attempt by Shiranayu Group to develop super equipment for mining on alien planets. However, due to the current situation, Blue Star does not yet have a mature alien planet construction base, mining mineral resources system, and underground mining equipment. The space lacks a communication hub, and it is difficult to send the collected minerals back to Blue Star. Therefore, after Shiranayu Group manufactured this super engineering behemoth, it did not use it for its previously preset purposes, but developed more uses, based on its own functions. Among them, land reclamation is another function besides large-scale mining, and it also played a huge role in the construction of Penglay Island, where Shiranayu Group was previously located. We got some basic data about the planetary mining machine from Shiranayu Group. Its height reaches more than 600 meters, and its length and width are 2,700 meters and 1,400 meters respectively. This place is located at an altitude of more than 2,000 meters, and it is more than 10 kilometers away from the planetary mining machine. It may be difficult for everyone to feel the shock brought by such a behemoth. Pilot, can we get closer, soon? From the live broadcast perspective, the news shooting helicopter slowly flew towards the working planetary mining machine. Since Shiranayu Group gave permission for the interview, it didn't matter how they filmed it. It just set a safe distance. It was best not to get close to the planetary mining machine in operation within 1 kilometer, of course. This is just a friendly reminder. There is no coercive means, and there are no protective measures. Planetary mining machines are not tofu. There are reporters and pilots who are not afraid of death and fly planes to observe closely. If there is an accident, the people who are close will only die, not the planetary mining machines. This thing can operate on planets with extremely harsh conditions and can easily hollow out a planet. The core area inside the planet can easily reach temperatures of thousands or tens of thousands of degrees, not to mention a few planes that are not afraid of death. The Blue Star aircraft hit and crashed. At most, it's just a matter of wiping off some of the paint. Not to mention a few planes. Even if a tactical nuclear bomb is sent here directly, the planetary mining machine will probably be in trouble after it is exploded. The best we can do is get here. The violent airflow caused by this big guy when working is very dangerous. If we get closer, we will easily be affected by these airflows and crash. Although
Sci-Fi group had set a safe distance of 1 kilometer when it was still almost 2 kilometers away from the planetary mining machine. The pilot was already sweating profusely and said he could not go any further. What he drove was a civilian helicopter used by the media, not a military helicopter, nor one of those high-tech landing craft from Sci-Fi group. Don't dare to touch this behemoth. However, even though the distance is still nearly 2 kilometers, many people watching the live broadcast can realize how huge the planetary mining machine is. The height of 600 meters, not counting the dozens of meters submerged in the sea, is more than 500 meters high, close to 600 meters. What is this concept? Before Suyi appeared, the tallest building in Blue Star, the Burj Khalifa in the oil area, was only over 800 meters high. The tallest building in Kyushu, located in the central building of the Magic City, is only a little over 600 meters tall. In other words, the height of this thing above the sea is already higher than the tallest building in Shanghai. Among the various data of the planetary mining machine, height is the smallest data point. The width and length are even more outrageous. So now, even though they are nearly 2 kilometers apart, people in the live broadcast room can already feel the oppression brought by this huge monster very intuitively. It's too big, too scary, and makes people feel suffocated just by looking at it. Hiss. This is the pinnacle of heavy industrial aesthetics. Big is better. More than 600 meters high, more than 2,000 meters long, and more than 1,000 meters wide. If you tell me that this thing can be made by humans, I really don't believe it. I'm a little curious. How much does this thing weigh? Isn't this hundreds of thousands of tons? Hundreds of thousands of tons. Damn it. Even those hundreds of thousands of tons of cargo ships don't have one leg as thick as this one. I estimate that this thing is worth hundreds of millions of tons, or even more exaggerated than that. It's really like a mountain moving here. Stop praising mountains. Not all mountains are this big. My hometown is in the hilly area of Jiangnan, and the mountains there are not so big. Compared with this thing, the mountains in my hometown are no different than little dirt bags. Now I finally understand why the Sci-Fi group was able to build Penglai Island overnight, and now it has to build Yingzhou Island in a day or two. This is so weird. Look, the technology illustration on the Sci-Fi group's official website has been updated again, and it's this planet mining machine that has been announced. Just finished reading it. Tortoise, this thing is designed to hollow out a planet in 20 to 30 years. No wonder it's so easy to build an island overnight. Look carefully, it's not just big, the real awesome technology is still behind. It can not only collect ores and various substances, but also smelt them internally while collecting them, stripping impurities at the molecular level, and refining the ores into the required minerals. Damn, I finally know why Penglai Island is so big and stable. Last time there was an earthquake and tsunami not far from Penglai Island, it was not affected at all. Big brother, please tell me in detail. This can't be explained in detail. The appearance of Penglai Island has always been controversial in the industry. Many professionals believe that if Penglai Island encounters any special geographical activities or abnormal climate after it is filled, it is very likely to cause the entire island to collapse. The things inside are quite complicated, and the amount of work involved is simply impossible to complete with the current technology of Blue Star. They think so not because they are not optimistic about Sci-Fi group, but because they really have concerns on the technical level. However, it seems that their concerns are not worth mentioning in front of Sci-Fi group's technology. Chapter 382. To put it simply, this planetary mining machine can eat sand and various random stones from the front, and then smelt them internally to form building materials of the required shape and fill them directly on the seabed. For example, the area around Penglai Island is a sea of mud and sand, with only a small undersea reef holding up the small island that originally stood there. Theoretically speaking, it is completely unqualified to build such a large land reclamation in such a place, because it is simply not stable enough to fill it with sand. If it encounters an undersea earthquake or tsunami, it will collapse in minutes. And the surrounding areas, there is also a lack of solid reefs that can be collected for land reclamation. Therefore, in the relevant academic circles, land reclamation does not mean that you can directly fill in any place with sand. After all, your man-made islands are different from other people's natural islands. Natural islands are often extensions of the continental shelf, or produced by the solidification of lava from undersea volcanic eruptions. They have a strong enough foundation, so they are not afraid of any geological activities and climate disasters. Normally, if you want to reclaim land from the sea, you must first select a place with fairly stable geological conditions. In other words, this place already has the conditions to become a large island, but there is a lack of rivers flowing into the sea around it. The movement of ocean currents brought sediment, so no islands were formed. Penglay Island itself does not have such conditions. Before Shaya Group built Penglay Island, its original island was actually a small island formed by the solidification of lava from the eruption of a submarine volcano. It was abnormally protruding on the seabed. The foundation can only support a natural island the size of Penglay Island's predecessor, and there are many submarine volcanoes around it, with frequent geological activities. Building such a big island in a place like this is no different from building the tallest building in the world on the foundation of a small bungalow in the countryside. Moreover, the building is located in an earthquake zone. An earthquake may occur at any time. This is why many big figures in the relevant academic circles believe that Penglay Island has major safety risks. In contrast, building such a large island in the southern seas does not have these problems, because the water in the southern seas of our country is relatively shallow, and it is an extension of the continental shelf in the ocean. It has a strong enough foundation, plus giant reefs are clustered together, and the geological activities are relatively stable, so all conditions are met for building an island here. And now, with the emergence of this planetary mining machine, the questions that have troubled us for a long time have finally been answered. It's not that Shaya Group is unaware of the hidden dangers of Penglay Island, but that we are short-sighted and have no concept of Shaya Group's super technology. The planetary mining machine's function of reorganizing materials at the molecular level perfectly solves the problem that Penglay Island itself has no stable foundation and the surrounding sea area lacks relevant rigid materials to collect. What it eats is the most common sediment and spits it out. But it can be solid granite, and it can also be rooted. The shape of these granites is determined according to the needs. It is no exaggeration to say that, as long as it is designed properly, Penglay Island is not only free of hidden dangers, but also terrifyingly stable, even more stable than some undersea volcanoes, where geological disasters occur. And geological disasters have no impact at all. Less than an hour after the various data and functions of the planetary mining machine were released, an engineering research institute in Kyushu published a long article. The content inside is mainly to answer the audience's doubts about the role of the planetary mining machine's refining sand into stone function in the super project, and why the planetary mining machine can fill up the vast ocean at such a fast speed. Such a big island comes out. Because many people still don't quite understand it after understanding the various data of the planetary mining machine. I think, even if such a big guy existed, it would be unrealistic to fill up a large island of 1,500 square kilometers so quickly. And some people are not just talking nonsense, they really analyze it from all levels with reason and evidence. The most important point is that the sea lacks some raw materials, either fixed reefs or some sediment on the seabed. Even a clever woman cannot make a meal without rice. No matter how good your skills are, you can't fill the island without materials, right? And if materials are sent from land, the materials can fill an island of more than 1,000 square kilometers. It may take several years just to send the materials, which is simply unrealistic. Now the case is finally solved. That is the planetary mining machine. It can not only dig, but also use local materials to produce various required materials to fill it. It can be said that it perfectly solves all the problems for laymen who don't understand. They can only lament the awesomeness of this industrial behemoth, while those who understand are already kneeling to watch the live broadcast. This is more than just awesome. Of course, after figuring out the function of this thing, the biggest impact will be on the mining industry and metal smelting industry around the world. What the hell? Someone can dig out more ore with one shovel than you can produce in a year. Not only do they dig it, but they also refine it for you. As long as you can find a suitable planet. No, you don't even need to find a suitable planet for mining. You just need to put this thing in a few large mines on Blue Star. With its ability, it can cause all mining and smelting related industries in the world to go bankrupt. Financial markets have always been the fastest to react to this kind of thing. Many people were still watching the news and listening to popular science, and they didn't realize what would happen if this thing appeared. At that time, the stocks of related industries in the stock market fell freely. The chain reaction triggered affected more than millions of people. Of course, this kind of thing, that a company's new product release directly caused the stock of an industry to plunge and affected millions of people, might have been a big news in the past, but it is not a big deal now. After the emergence of SYNOPSIS Group, similar things happened more than once or twice. This is still good. Before, SYNOPSIS Group casually developed carbon-based wafer technology and threw it to Jiuzhou. That was overpass. The rooftop of a street in Bald Eagle was directly crowded with bankrupts who jumped off the building. The people who collected the bodies below were afraid of being hit by the people who jumped off the building behind them. The free-falling people were like rain. This is the horrible result of SYNOPSIS Group's random announcement of a new technology or a new product. Chapter 383. Urgent news. The Duke of Yunlin issued a statement this morning, claiming that Her Majesty the Queen was coerced by traitors, and that he would send troops north to protect your safety. Urgent news. The false emperor issued an edict, in which he advised Her Majesty the Queen not to act on impulse and to set off for the imperial capital as soon as possible. For the sake of brotherly love, he can let bygones be bygones, and pretend that this incident never happened. Urgent news. The Duke of Lushan issued a notice, saying that you are a traitor, and attempted to rebel. He also said that Mengchuan City is related to the important task of defending the northern gate of the empire against the northern alien races, and proposed that the various princes who are fighting each other temporarily suspend their weapons and jointly send troops north to quell the rebellion. The latest, according to the news released by the Dragon Hunters Union, the dragons on Dragon Island are almost all out, led by the Black Dragon King, and are heading towards Mengchuan City. According to the previous agreement between the major human empires, when such a thing happens, the empires along the way should send troops to intercept, and other empires should send troops to assist. However, the Magic Empire, which the dragons have to pass through, remained silent and did not take any countermeasures. The chief administrative officer of the Magic Empire suddenly claimed not long ago that it was an extremely dangerous act for Mengchuan City to build a portal to another world, and threatened to send a team of more than 3,000 people with a minimum strength of the 8th level magician team is here to stop your dangerous behavior. The Huangsha Empire in the west has not made any statement, but according to the news from the governor of the Northwest Territory of the Empire, the army on the border between the Huangsha Empire and the Qiang Empire has increased by at least 12 regular night groups in a short period of time. In addition to the original garrison, the Huangsha Empire has actually deployed 1 million troops on the border, and all of them are elite cavalry groups. Among them, even the most powerful Royal Gold Knight group of the Huangsha Empire was found. Once the Huangsha Empire attacks, the power currently in the hands of the governor of the Northwest is completely unable to resist. The various passes along the way are also empty due to the civil war. The yellow sand flood from the northwest will hit Mengchuan City within a day. The latest news came from the Jiuzhou reinforcement headquarters. Their drones found the vanguard of the northern aliens in the depths of the northern mountains. They came half a month earlier than originally expected. The Jiuzhou reinforcement headquarters analyzed that this was an elite force sent by the northern aliens with light equipment and a few followers. The purpose was to fight for these portals. While the reclamation of land on Blue Star was in full swing, the magic world was not idle here. The manifesto published by Wei not only threw out such a big temptation of the permanent portal connecting to the other world, but also directly labeled all the princes who participated in the civil war, including the eldest prince who had ascended the throne of the empire, as traitors. It is like tempting others while handing them a knife, so that no one can worry about the reason to attack her. Almost overpass. The 3 northern provinces belonging to the Mengchuan kingdom and the important town of Mengchuan City became the target of public criticism. As the Queen of Mengchuan, she is at the center of the vortex. being watched by countless eyes from all over the world. Even those who have announced that they will attack or are about to attack are just minor problems. The demigods and gods who are the biggest threat are probably lurking near Mengchuan City at this moment. They are the ones who can't resist the temptation of the portal to another world. The affiliation of the empire is meaningless to these gods. They just want the portal. Therefore, even though all forces have declared war on Mengchuan City or attacked directly, Wei Wei herself is absolutely safe. After all, the portal to another world has not been opened yet. Whoever dares to move Wei Wei at this time is equivalent to being an enemy of all gods. Of course, it is inevitable that some gods will have some other little thoughts. Wei Wei sat in the first seat, and after listening to the bad news reported by her subordinates, her expression was not disturbed. Because she knew that in this matter, the gods who were hiding and had not yet appeared were the real threat. These messy forces were just like a few wild dogs on the roadside. If they shout loudly now, they will be unable to do anything except retreat when the real boss shows up. However, she knows the inside story and is not worried, but other people in Mengchuan City do not know. Even many important ministers under Wei Wei are still unclear about what kind of enemy Mengchuan City is facing at present. So tension and panic are inevitable. Of course, many of them have some strange thoughts. After all, from their perspective, Wei Wei is not honest enough. You said you want to increase the trade with Jiazhao. Everyone has no objection to this. Jiazhao's things are so useful. Everyone present has basically tried it. To exchange these things, you only need countless minerals around Mengchuan City, and you don't even need to spend money. They can't object at all. Even if Wei Wei said in advance that she wanted to open a permanent portal to trade with Jiazhao, they would strongly support it and see if they have the opportunity to go to Jiazhao and see the world that the people of Jiazhao describe as no different from the paradise on Earth. But Wei Wei suddenly issued such an explosive notice without consulting them. You said you would open the door to increase transactions, but you directly raised the flag of rebellion and offended all the princes in the civil war. What is this? Didn't we agree before that we would build high walls and store up food to slowly claim the throne and then talk about rebellion after the princes in the civil war were both defeated? Why did you suddenly lose your temper and rebel? They didn't know much information and they didn't see far enough. They didn't know that opening the portal would inevitably attract the attention of the gods, and that we planned to deal with all the main opposition forces when asking Su Yi to deal with the gods in this case. Wei Wei's operation of directly declaring war on the whole world was obviously a bit too stupid. For a time, many people wondered if they had a brain twitch when they followed such a monarch to plot big things. And what made these high-level officials of the Mengchuan kingdom most painful was that this was in the magic world, and this world had its own rules. Who of the high-level officials of the Mengchuan kingdom who stood here had not sworn allegiance to Wei Wei? Even if he felt that he had boarded a pirate ship at this moment, it was too late to jump off the car and get on another car. If he really did that, no matter what the result of Wei Wei was in the future, his future would definitely be ruined, and he would even be criticized by others, thinking that he was a villain who betrayed his master for glory. Even if you are invincible, it would be difficult to find a new home to continue to develop after doing such a thing in the magic world. Therefore, the high-ranking officials of the Mengchuan kingdom are now like dumb people eating bitter herbs, unable to speak out their bitterness every time they heard a piece of unfavorable news. Their faces would darken a little, and by the end, their faces were almost green. In the whole room, only Wei Wei had a calm expression and didn't care much about it. Chapter 384. Anything else? After hearing the official who reported the bad news was silent for a long time, Wei Wei asked with interest, "For now, not for now." The official wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. I thought that if a fight breaks out, the entire 3 provinces in the northern border will be destroyed. What else? Can we still live, Your Majesty? Now we have almost become the public enemy of the entire continent. When the army approaches, how should we deal with it? The more courageous high-level officials of Mengchuan City asked directly. Anyway, it is impossible to jump out of the car now. Since they have boarded the pirate ship, they can only hope that their own queen's operation is not crazy, but really has an explanation point, otherwise everyone will wash their necks and wait for death point, not to mention how powerful the artillery weapons of the Jiao reinforcement are. Even if their firepower is really strong enough to annihilate all the armies sent by these forces, there is no room for them to display point. The higher level officials of Mengchuan City present here basically have a relatively in-depth understanding of the Jiao reinforcement, and they are very clear about the advantages and disadvantages of the special combat methods of this army from another world point. To put it bluntly, this is a group of ordinary people, but the weapons in their hands have super destructive power. If you want them to fully exert the power of these weapons, then the local strongmen of Mengchuan City must hold off the opponent's masters and buy them time point when fighting with the northern aliens. Before the first wave was because the northern aliens had not yet reached a desperate situation, and they had not determined which path to go south from point. The original high-end combat power of Mengchuan City was barely on par with the opponent, so there was room for the Jiao reinforcement to play point later, when millions of allied troops from the northern border went south. It was Wei Wei who used her amazing appeal to find a large group of Jianghu strongmen from the Qiang Empire who were unwilling to participate in the civil war, so that the two sides could barely maintain a balance of high-end combat power and give the Jiao reinforcement room to play point. Even if most of those people did not leave after they came and still stay in Mengchuan City, they can fight against the northern aliens in the future point. But in the current situation, it can be said that all the forces in the world want to attack Mengchuan City, not just the northern aliens compared with the enemy. The high-end combat forces of Mengchuan City are not enough point, and under such a big disadvantage, many high-end combat forces that gathered in the north to fight against the aliens did not swear allegiance to Wei Wei. They can jump out of the car and run away in a minute, so why should they wait for death on this broken ship with you? As one side grows and the other side loses, the high-end combat forces of both sides are completely asymmetric point. In other words, the reinforcement of Jiao have no corresponding room to play point. Once the war starts, it is estimated that they will be wiped out by the opponent's massive high-level warriors and magicians. After a few shots there are only 20,000 reinforcement in Jiao, and even if you count them specifically, there are only more than 10,000 people who are actually in the battle sequence, and there are thousands of engineers and experts in related fields who do not participate in the battle at all point. And the 8th and 9th level warriors sent by the forces that want to attack Mengchuan City this time are estimated to be more numerous than the Jiao reinforcement. What's the point of this fight? Judging from the current situation, the top leaders of Mengchuan City don't know how to win this battle. I will stop the enemy and block the water. I have my own plans. Just do your own things. Facing the questioning of the top leaders within the forces, Wei Wei's expression was not too turbulent. Point. She is not a fool. She knows that most people will think she is crazy after this wave. Even those who swear allegiance to her will probably run away in large numbers. Some people may not be afraid of death, but the current situation is obviously a meaningless death for them. Point. Naturally, many will be unwilling. Point. As for those who temporarily took refuge in Mengchuan City, there is no need to say more. It is estimated that when the news spreads from the Mengchuan City Lord's mansion, they will immediately disperse. Point. But Wei Wei has a big plan in this matter, and it is impossible to tell these subordinates about the plan now. Point. Even if these people are loyal and will not reveal the news, the gods are watching them secretly. Point. If she tells it now, it will be a waste of the grand scene that she and Suyi have planned for so long. Point. Compared with their plan to kill the gods, some subordinates who are not strong-willed and do not trust her enough can just leave. Point. She simply doesn't bother to care about these people. Point. Strong winds reveal strong grass, and turbulent times reveal loyal ministers. It's just the right opportunity to screen the people in Mengchuan City and pick out those who are not strong-willed enough. Point. Those who are willing to stay under such circumstances will naturally rise to prominence under her command in the future, and their future is limitless. This is not only a shocking pit to the outside world, but also a cruel screening within the team. Your Majesty is like this. I have nothing to say. A middle-aged noble who has held an important position in Wei Wei's team for a long time sighed and took a step back. Point. Just like what I said before, Some people who found themselves on a pirate ship but have not sworn allegiance can still defect to the enemy. Some people have already sworn allegiance, and even if they jump off the ship and run away now, no one will take them in. They can only live a mediocre life for the rest of their lives, but at least they can save their lives. People like him who have been loyal to WeWe for a long time can't run away. Once WeWe fails, he will be a core member of WeWe's team who will inevitably be liquidated. There is nothing to do now, except sighing. Seeing that WeWe didn't even have an explanation, most of the remaining people in the hall were anxious. Your Majesty is so stubborn, what should we do? That's right, the army outside is approaching, and even the ones coming are all the elites of the empire and other empires. How can we resist? Your Majesty, I'm old and want to retire. Your Majesty, my wife is going to give birth today. Since we can't discuss a result here, I will go home to see my son first. Hey, Duke Louis, you are over 70 years old, and your wife can still give birth, isn't it okay for me to be strong and healthy soon? This panic and turmoil spread in the hall. As we expected, those northern nobles who had just sworn allegiance to her began to want to withdraw and run away when they saw that the situation was not good. This is also the way of survival for these noble families, betting on many parties and speculating. The main thing is to change with the wind. We defeated the alien races in the north several times in a row and obtained the fiefdom of the 3 provinces in the north and became the powerful queen of Mengchuan in the north. She also has the most noble royal bloodline of the Qiang Empire and has the help of people from another world. Before, this was of course a perfect investment target. If they were lucky, WeWe would really become the empress of the Qiang Empire in the future. Even if their investment now is not considered as original shares, it would at least have the merit of following the dragon. It is no problem to let the family from the north become an old noble of the Qiang banner in the imperial capital. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 385. People follow you, WeWe, for the sake of wealth and glory. At worst, even if WeWe cannot become the empress of the Qiang Empire, with her power in the north and her bloodline, even if the princes in the civil war win the game, who will easily touch her at that time, as WeWe's subordinates, you can still eat and drink in the North Point. But now WeWe has directly declared war on the whole world. The brothers have not enjoyed any wealth and glory by following you, and you want to take them to fight against stones. Who dares to follow you? It was naturally expected that these nobles who came to speculate would turn against each other first and run away. And then there are the masters and staff she has recruited over the years. Although this group has also been with WeWe for a long time, to be honest, they basically want to use WeWe's identity to seek a noble title for themselves and find a way out. If you say that this group is not loyal at all, that's not the case. Their goal is to use your platform to fight for wealth and glory and strive to become a noble master in the future. For this goal, when it comes to risking their lives, they are willing to risk their lives and are not afraid of death. But that is when there is hope and expectation. From their perspective, the current situation facing Mengchuan City is a dead end with no hope at all. For wealth and glory, they can risk their lives, but for the Lord WeWe, that is definitely not possible. So except for some people who have been under WeWe for too long and can't run away, even if they want to, most of the rest have decisively chosen to run away. The rest are those who have been recruited recently to fill the vacancies of officials in the kingdom of Mengchuan. Compared with the first two, although this group of people have not been under WeWe for a long time, they are more loyal. Because WeWe's way of promoting these people is basically the method passed down from Kyushu, and they don't care much about their origins. Except for a few poor nobles, most of the rest are of commoner origin. Those great nobles and powerful rangers can run away because they have good origins and enough skills. Even if they don't follow WeWe, no other forces want them, and they can still eat and drink well in the future, but they can't achieve greater goals and ideals. But these officials promoted from the bottom are different. They have no origin and no strength point. It can be said that except for Wee, there is no place for them in the entire magic world. If Wee falls, their best fate is to continue to go back to farming and become tenant farmers, becoming the lowest level of cattle and horses in this world. So, even if they know how big the crisis is, few people in this group say they want to run away. It doesn't matter if you stick your head out or shrink your head. The most loyal ones are of course the absolute direct descendants of Wee's own Princess Guard. Although the system and customs of this world have some bad aspects, and the royal family is also corrupt enough. But a royal family can be the master of the empire for more than 100,000 years. In addition to the powerful ancestors of the gods, there is indeed something. These direct guards assigned to princes and princesses are knights carefully selected by the court. They are not only strong, but also loyal. Let alone these upcoming crises. Even if Wee wants them to die now, they will not blink an eye and will immediately draw their swords and cut their necks. This is definitely not to abandon Wee and run away when the situation is not good. Your Majesty, if this goes on, there may be chaos. If these people are allowed to spread the news, it may also disturb the morale of the army. The guards are outside. Do you want to seal this place first and let these people calm down first? Seeing that the chaos has begun to take shape, Wee has not said anything yet, but Chuck, the guard and commander-in-chief of the City Lord Guard, is already anxious. He was originally a member of the Imperial Guards trained by the Chiang Empire, and he watched Wee grow up, so he is naturally loyal. No need. Let them go. Wee looked at her slender fingertips indifferently and said lightly, also, go and issue a closure order to each camp. All soldiers of the Mengchuan Kingdom are not allowed to step out of the camp gate within 3 days. Of course, if someone really wants to leave, there is no need to stop them. Just let them go. Just remove their names. Those who were previously conferred titles will have their titles revoked, and those who were conferred knight titles will be deprived of their titles for cowardice. Before they leave, let them leave their equipment and other things behind. Anyone who wants to make a fortune in Mengchuan City before leaving is not allowed. By the way, send a trustworthy guard to increase the garrison strength of the Jiazhou reinforcement camp to prevent accidents. Send another team of elite soldiers to bring all the experts and scholars from Jiazhou back to Mengchuan City. Tell them what research they have and wait a few days to solve all the problems. Mengchuan City may be a little turbulent recently, which is very dangerous. That's all. Let someone do it. Although, I don't understand why things have developed to this extent. Wee still doesn't seem to be in a hurry at all. But as the most loyal guard, Chuck naturally couldn't say anything more. He immediately gave orders to other guards to do it. As the head of the guards, he stood guard in the city lord's mansion with a sword in hand in this chaotic situation to prevent any accidents. However, although Chuck was a 9th level strongman, the ceiling level of combat power that mortals in this world could achieve. But the person who wants to trouble Wee now is completely beyond his ability to deal with. As the news spread, those who were discussing matters in the city lord's mansion ran away, while those who did not ran away found ways to do what they should do, and the entire city lord's mansion gradually became quiet. Wee was always lying lazily on her throne, as if waiting for something. I don't know how long it took, but the sunny noon outside gradually entered the sunset. A pair of handsome men and women wearing extremely ordinary coarse linen clothes finally slowly appeared in the meeting hall of Wee's city lord's palace. Who is it? Chuck, who was guarding the door, noticed immediately and pulled out his long sword. It's dinner time. Go back and eat. You don't have to worry about it. Wee waved her hand. Chuck still looked a little worried, but after hearing this, he could only retreat obediently so as not to disturb Vivi's plan. This is the great-great-great-grandson of the 1120th generation of my Chiang family. His facial features do look a bit like yours. Yao you. The man glanced at Wee and said to the woman beside him, since they are direct bloodlines, it is unusual for them to be somewhat similar. The woman said lightly, then looked at Wee. Little girl, since you are from a royal family and have received palace education since childhood, you must have seen our portraits, right? Since you have met the ancestor, why don't you worship him? Chapter 386. It is no longer known when the gods of the magical world first appeared. Some people think it was the tribal period millions of years ago, while others think it was hundreds of thousands of years ago when all kinds of intelligent life besides humans began to spring up out of thin air. These creatures were created because the first gods were seeking more diverse paths. The earliest gods cannot be tested, but when it comes to the most famous and most amazing gods in the magical world, the discussion cannot avoid the founders of several large empires on the mainland. The so-called gods, to put it bluntly, are mortals who have gained great power. Compared with the serious world of immortality next door, the strength of these gods is, to put it bluntly, on the level of a wild dog on the roadside. The great powers who return to the world of immortality and join the Tao are still unable to completely cut off the secular world. How can these gods in the magic world be transcendent? Higher realms, cultivation, resources, fame, and family continuation are all things that the gods in the magical world pursue. If possible, which god wouldn't want to own a huge empire as his territory and enjoy endless offerings from future generations? Therefore, those beings standing behind the major empires of mankind are able to protect future generations and occupy such huge resources for hundreds of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of years. They are definitely the most powerful among the gods. The two people appearing in front of Wei now were obviously two of them. The man's name is Chiang, and the woman's name is Yaoyu. The father and mother of the first emperor of the Chiang Empire are also the ancestors of the entire royal family of the Chiang Empire. Since then, although the Chiang royal family has produced several god-level beings, they are not as good as these two in terms of strength or prestige. In the palace education that Wei received since she was a child, countless pen and ink was spent describing the deeds of these two people. Not only the palace education, but everyone in the entire Blazing Sun Empire who has read books knows about their deeds. This is a living legend. Wei once had great admiration for these two legends who had made extraordinary contributions and brought this land from the barbaric tribal era to the imperial era. However, as she obtained the trading platform, she saw a wider world, and now it is gradually disenchanted. Under normal circumstances, if these two people appeared in front of her as juniors who enjoyed the shelter, she would naturally treat them politely and thoughtfully. But this is obviously not a normal situation. These two are usually like dragons, traveling all over the world. They are a couple of gods and gods that are envied by the world. As for what happened between these descendants, as long as it doesn't lead to the destruction of the country and the extinction of the species, they don't bother to ask. Wei has lived for more than 20 years and has never seen them. The purpose of appearing in the city lord's palace in Mengchuan City at such a sensitive moment is self-evident. Hearing the question from this unknown great-grandmother, Wei just chuckled and said, "I'm Queen Mengchuan, and this is my fiefdom. According to the laws of the empire, even if the emperor of the empire comes in person, I do not have to kneel down and worship. After all, he is an old monster who has lived for hundreds of thousands of years." They were not upset after hearing this. Chiang found a chair and sat down on his own and said with interest, "Oh, do you think we are worse than the emperor on the throne? It depends on the purpose of your coming." Wei said calmly, "If you come to visit me as an elder, then Wei will naturally treat you with courtesy and treat your two ancestors as honored guests. But the purpose of your coming here is probably more than that, right?" Chiang shrugged. "So, it's just a wrong name, not a wrong nickname. The empire's thornflower is indeed beautiful and thorny. It's up to you to have a character that refuses to suffer any loss. Yaoyu, it's just that his strength is a bit weaker and his talent is also a bit lacking compared to Kai Yang's casualness and humor. Yaoyu appears more serious, more like a mean patriarch. At this age, he is already at the 7th level of both magic and martial arts. He would be considered a peerless genius anywhere in the magic world, but in her words, it is not worth mentioning. Wei was not angry when she heard this and followed this saying, "Yes, I'm weak in strength and have poor talent, so I have to have something close to me. I don't know if you two are here this time to help me, the descendant, keep my own things, or do you want to get a share of the pie? It's really inappropriate to steal things from future generations, but this thing is very important to us." Chiang seemed a little embarrassed, and after pondering for a moment, he asked, "Well, you tell me what you want first, and we'll make a deal." I also read your statement. If you want the Imperial throne, give me the portal to another world. Tomorrow you will be the most orthodox and irrefutable empress of the Blazing Sun Empire. No one dares to disobey you. As for what did you do after you took over? Whether it's a mess or making people miserable, I don't care. If you want to expand the territory of the empire, as long as you have the ability, destroy all the other empires in the entire continent. My ancestors will also help you to ensure that those old things will not die, will come to trouble you. How about this condition? Several princes are going crazy for the throne, but in the eyes of such a being, the world's highest authority is just a bargaining chip that can be thrown around at will. I will do what you said, but I didn't expect that there would be someone above me in this world at that time. We looked at her ancestor and said word by word, not even God. TSK. TSK, what a big ambition. Chiang didn't know whether he was sighing or sarcastic. It seems that you did get some good things from another world, but if you think that you can fight against the gods with those strange and cunning tools, you are probably overestimating yourself. Even if we don't take action this time, or even stand on your side, you can't hold on to this kind of thing. You don't understand how tempting a whole new world is for those old guys. No. We smiled and said, it's you who don't know how vast the world outside is. If you don't stand in my position and just look at those people from Kyushu, you would be like a frog at the bottom of a well looking at the bright moon. If you can really see the true appearance of the outside world, what will you understand? Make a mayfly see the sky. Only when the sky and the earth are vastly different can we realize the infinity of the universe. Faced with Weiwei's barely concealed statement that there were frogs in the well, even Chiang, who was well trained, couldn't stand it anymore and sneered, but you haven't even seen the whole bottom of the well, so you talk about the vastness of the sky. Isn't it ridiculous? Chapter 387. Faced with Chiang's rhetorical question, Weiwei did not refute point, because she also knew that she really didn't know enough about the well of the magical world, especially about the gods. There must be big secrets hidden in it point, but at the same time, she also knew very well that Suyi definitely knew more about these things than she did point after all. There is Xinghan there, and he is a serious peak demigod, and his vision is no lower than that of his two ancestors. It is precisely because Suyi knows the situation at the highest level of the magical world better than she does, that she did such a crazy thing, after discussing with Suyi point otherwise. She's not tired of living. So why would she have such a big motive to make herself miserable and grow secretly? The atmosphere was tense for a while. After a long silence, Weiwei spoke again. I definitely cannot accept the conditions offered by the two of you, but I've been waiting for you here all day, not just to mock you. I've also prepared two choices for you. Since you're here, why not give it a listen? Let us choose. No one has dared to talk to us like this in hundreds of thousands of years. Yaoi, who was obviously extremely dissatisfied with the attitude of this descendant, and snorted coldly, do you know what happened to the last person, or god, who forced us to make a choice? I don't know, and there's no need to know. Weiwei shrugged. Until the time and space gate I mentioned is completely built, none of you can do anything to me, can you? Yaoi's thin red lips moved when she heard this, but she didn't refute anything point, because that's really the case point. Even though they were Weiwei's ancestors, they could only come here in advance to play the emotional card and see if they could get Weiwei to hand over the key to another world. In advance point Weiwei was unwilling to give it, so they really couldn't do anything to Weiwei point kill her in advance to seize the treasure, not to mention whether killing Weiwei can obtain the treasure and give him away to go to another world. Even if he can, there are more than one or two gods hidden around Mengchuan City. These old guys will not agree to it in the first place. Although the two of them are considered to be the first level of power among the gods, facing the gods accumulated over so many years in the entire magical world, once they become the target of public criticism, they will definitely die. No one would do such a stupid thing, let alone these scheming old guys. Weiwei has a way to establish contact with other worlds and even communicate with each other. If she doesn't let go, no one can do anything to her. Even if the previous announcement about establishing a permanent time and space gate is a joke, these gods they've all been fooled. There are no consequences, on the contrary. Only if she really builds the gate of time and space on schedule and turns the method of connecting to different worlds from her personal secret into a prop placed there, will it really attract countless gods to compete for it. There are too many uncertainties among living people, and no one dares to say that they can be 100% in control. And a prop placed there, in the eyes of these gods, can obviously be snatched by brute force. So whoever dares not to let Wu-Wei build this door now is the public enemy of all gods. Tell me what you are going to choose for us. Kai Yang stopped Yaoyu, who was about to give up teaching the unscrupulous descendants, and her expression had returned to calm. Two choices. Wu-Wei stretched out two delicate fingers. First, the two gods from the history of the empire are standing by my side and listening to my orders. After I complete some goals, you want to go to another world to experience a better cultivation environment. If you want to achieve more perfection, I can arrange all the complete cultivation techniques for you. As soon as these words came out, a trace of solemnity appeared in Xiang's eyes. It seems that I have underestimated you. A girl in her 20s actually knows the problems faced by the gods of this world. Did Star Prayer tell you this? I heard that she had some dealings with you not long ago. After all, we are young people, so we should talk about this kind of thing to others. Given his age, it was hard to tell whether this young man was referring to Wu-Wei or Xinghan. But the left and right are pretty much the same point. After speaking, he said with great interest, "What about the other option?" Wu-Wei's red lips opened slightly, and she uttered one word, "Die." "Hey, you little girl, why are you so angry? You won't be able to get married soon," Xiang complained. When Wu-Wei heard the word "can't get married," for some reason she remembered that she had taken the initiative to get married. However, Su Yi didn't pay attention to this matter at all. He couldn't help but twitching his brows, and his face became a little bit stinky. "Ancestor, do you think I'm scaring you? Although I don't know where your confidence comes from, I probably understand why you do this." Xiang shrugged. At this point, Wu-Wei has almost made it clear that she knows that doing this will attract the covetousness of the gods and what the consequences will be. But he did it anyway. The purpose behind this is very questionable. On one side is an inconspicuous princess of the empire and the female prince of a poor frontier land, and on the other side are all the gods who stand at the top of the world. Originally this was a confrontation without any suspense. Before he came here, he, like other gods, thought that Wu-Wei was just a little girl who didn't know what to call her. Once she builds this so-called gate of time and space, her real competitors will be other gods. As the master of the gate of time and space, Wu-Wei can be manipulated at will. No one took her seriously. But now it seems that Xiang suddenly felt that it was still hard to say who was the hunter and who was the prey. If he still thought that Wu-Wei was a puppet that could be manipulated at will like those gods, he would probably suffer a great loss. Thinking of this, Xiang changed his mindset and said, "How do I stand on your side?" This was also a cliché. After all, if Wu-Wei could really keep the gate of time and space under the covetousness of so many gods, and even had more plans in it, then it would obviously make no difference whether there was help from the gods of the Qiang Empire or not. If the means she prepared were not enough to deal with these gods, then why didn't the gods of the Qiang Empire join them in robbing the door, but instead went to serve as a foil for a junior and listen to the command of a little girl? No need to stand. Wu-Wei shook her head and said, "Your power has no meaning to me. You are no more or less. Even if you stand on the opposite side, it will not affect me at all, because I also have your blood flowing in my body, so I give you a chance to choose. That's all." "You said so much. Aren't you afraid that we will still insist on our own way and reveal your plan? Let those gods be on guard against you?" Xiang asked curiously. He obviously guessed that Wu-Wei was definitely planning something beyond everyone's expectations and shocking. "I learned a sentence in another world, and I find it very interesting. Your body and name will be destroyed, but the rivers and streams will flow forever." Chapter 388. What this sentence means is that in the face of an absolute trend, any different voices and people who try to stop it will not have any impact on it. In fact, this is true. Even if you tell those gods that my plan is to throw out a temptation they can't refuse, attract them and catch them all in one fell swoop, so that they will be on guard and hide, at most, it can only cause me some trouble, and it will not have any impact on the future direction of the world, because I'm the future of this world, and you can't stop the inevitable results of the future. That's all. The choice is up to you. Chiang didn't answer directly, but said with interest, it's not something you can do to arrange and implement such a plan. If I'm not mistaken, the key to the final implementation of the plan is in another world, right? The plan was revealed to us so early. Once it affects the plan, aren't you afraid that your allies in the other world will be dissatisfied? We was stunned for a moment, and then couldn't help sighing. In fact, he is right sometimes. I just look like that at ordinary times, but I'm not a person who can do great things. When it comes to the critical moment, I'm indecisive, not decisive and ruthless, and I'm a princess, willful and reckless, just like now. If I reveal these things to you, once you really don't believe me, and tell the plan to other gods, it will definitely have some impact on our subsequent plans. If he knows, I guess he will definitely criticize me. But after that, he will definitely find a way to help me clean up the mess. So, just treat me as for the sake of the royal bloodline. Be willful again. It seems that your relationship with the allies in the other world is more complicated than we thought. The two old men obviously guessed something, and Yaoyu glanced at Weewoo's flat belly without hesitation, and said with some regret, it's a pity that there is still a lack of protection. Chiang thought of something, and squeezed with interest, didn't you just say that no one is allowed to be above you, only in this world, and, except him? Weewoo answered very seriously, I see, it seems that this trip is not in vain. Chiang shrugged, turned around and planned to leave. So, your choices. No, one should choose to die, right? Tomorrow afternoon, I will bring all the old guys above the demigod of the royal family here to listen to your orders. The voice came from far and near, and the two old men who looked 28 years old, but actually hundreds of thousands of years old, slowly disappeared in the meeting hall. Weewoo stood there for a moment, and couldn't help but mutter to herself, so this should help the plan, right? He should praise me, with the help of a group of gods and demigods from the Chiang Empire. The panic-stricken Mengchuan kingdom stabilized on the second day. For those who were panicked when they heard that various forces were coming to kill them, they didn't know what Weewoo was planning, and they didn't know that there were countless gods secretly watching Mengchuan City. However, the two ancestors of the Chiang Empire appeared in the city lord's mansion of Mengchuan City with a group of powerful gods and demigods. These two living legends are invincible in the minds of the people of the Chiang Empire. With these two platforms, those princes really became traitors, as Weewoo said, and the eldest prince on the throne naturally confirmed the title of the false emperor of the Chiang Empire. As for the news of the invasion of the surrounding magic empire Huangsha Empire, the people of Chiang Empire have always called themselves the Celestial Empire, looking down on these chickens and dogs, and naturally have no fear. The dragon clan is more of a barbarian, just a few wild dogs on the roadside. How dare you act rashly in front of the ancestors of Chiang? This is the public opinion advantage brought by the biggest pillar behind an empire that has been passed down for more than 100,000 years in the minds of the people of Chiang Empire. Chiang and Yaoyu are not only gods in terms of strength level, but also gods who are almost omnipotent in the true sense. But to put it bluntly, these will not have much impact on the final result, but only make those high-level officials of Mengchuan Kingdom who hurriedly ran away as soon as they heard the news regret it. It makes no difference whether Weewoo comes or not. Compared with being more conducive to the implementation of the plan, her wave is indeed more selfish. After all, they are people she has admired since childhood, and there are a group of her own ancestors. She doesn't want to see these people stand on the opposite side and be caught by Suyi at that time. As for whether Suyi could catch all these people in one fell swoop, she was not worried at all. Suyi said yes, although he didn't elaborate, but it was enough for her to believe. Are you ready? The
two met again in the trading space point after all. This is a major event involving the next important transformation of the two worlds, and the progress must be confirmed before the real work is done. It's ready. I chose a plane more than 100 kilometers south of Mengchuan City to place the time and space gate. This place is located in the lower reaches of a big river in Mengchuan City. The area of the plane is about 50,000 square kilometers. Before choosing this location, I discussed with your experts in geoshow. They believe that the topography and natural environment here can fully accommodate a super metropolis with a population of over 100 million. The existence of that big river can also become a hub for water transportation in the future. Although the northern border of the empire is cold, this river is one of the few rivers that does not freeze in winter. The runoff is also quite large, and it is only about 200 kilometers away from the sea. In addition, the average water depth of this section of the river is more than 30 meters. The average river width is more than 4 kilometers, and there is no large amount of siltation near the estuary. In the words of your experts in geoshow, this is simply a natural canal. We was quite serious about what Suyi said. This place almost perfectly meets the requirements mentioned by Suyi before. More than 50,000 square kilometers. Not bad. 2 or 3 times the size of the Xianfu plain. Suyi knew that there should be no problem with this matter. The Xianfu plain in Jiaozhou is only less than 20,000 square kilometers. In the case of insufficient urbanization, it is enough to support a city with a population of nearly 20 million. Such a large area in the magic world, as long as it is properly planned and some advanced urban construction technology is introduced, it will be no problem to support a metropolis with a population of over 100 million. Since everything is ready, let's open the portal at noon tomorrow according to the agreed time. So Yi said and prepared to leave point, but at this time, Wei suddenly said, by the way, I have something else to tell you. Chapter 389. What's up? So, Yi, who had finalized the plan and was about to go back, stopped. That's it. Wei hesitated for a moment, but still told Suyi about the Qiang family's ancestors, because according to the original plan, Suyi was going to wipe out all the gods in the entire magical world this time and complete his victory in one battle. To avoid subsequent troubles, in this all gods, of course, includes the elders of her Qiang family ancestors. She had no objection to this before, but when the two ancestors Qiang and Yaoai appeared in front of her, looking at these two great beings who had only seen them in portraits since childhood, Wei could not help but feel a little compassion. Heart. So he made a temporary decision to draw them under his command. She was a little worried that this move would make Suyi dissatisfied and even affect Suyi's original plan, so she was still a little uneasy at the moment. That's all. Suyi didn't care much. Hearing this, he just said, as an ancestor of your own family, you can just take care of it yourself. If it can be used by you, it can be regarded as the sealing combat power of the magic world, and it will be of great use in the future. But you'd better grasp the limits, otherwise a member of the trading platform will become the puppet of the so-called gods. As long as you are sure to control them and not interfere with my layout and plans in the magical world, they are not bound to die. He is not a murderer. It is reasonable for Wei to want to protect her ancestors, and she would not do anything just for this reason. Wei breathed a sigh of relief when she heard this, but for some reason, she asked again in a strange way, what if I can't control them in the future? Will you help me? So, Yi was stunned. His eyes met Wei's expectant eyes, and he suddenly smiled. I said, Princess, no, it's Her Majesty the Queen. Is the magical world yours or mine? You can't just wait for me to wipe your ass for everything, right? Before doing anything, use your brain and think about the consequences. From where you sit now, any thought may determine the livelihood or even life and death of thousands of people. In the future, you may become the co-owner of the entire world. One thought can determine the future of hundreds of millions of people. Just be calm and don't think about it one by one, okay? Wei hesitated and said nothing more. After a moment, her voice suddenly became a little low and she said, Suyi, I suddenly feel so tired these days. Probably since I became the Queen of Mengchuan. There are hundreds of millions of people in my fief, and there are threats from all sides. I have to think about how to resist the outside world.
At the same time, we have to consider the livelihood of these hundreds of millions of people, and at the same time, we have to deal with the operation problems of the increasingly large official system. I can rest for no more than 2 hours every day, leaving almost no time for practice. Do you know what I look forward to most every day? Sue. Yi didn't know what she was causing sudden trouble, and said a little warily, "What? That's when you called me to the trading platform." We let out a long breath. Every moment I was there, I had to consider a lot of complicated government and military affairs, but here I just have to listen to your arrangements most of the time. I can free my mind, and don't have to think about anything. Your arrangements are basically the same. Nothing went wrong. As soon as I leave the trading platform and return to the magical world, the complicated government affairs will make me breathless. I'm really tired. No. Suyi really laughed angrily at this aunt. Your Highness, you don't want to back down when things get tough, do you? Who was in the trading space clamoring to be the Empress of the Blazing Sun Empire and to lead your army to conquer the entire magical world. It looks like we are about to make some progress. Why don't you come with me to make a fuss? I didn't say I wouldn't do it anymore. Why are you so anxious? We said dissatisfied. At that time, I didn't know that it would be so troublesome to rule after the territory became larger. Being the Lord of Mengchuan City is much easier than it is now. So, Yi was a little speechless obviously. His previous view of Wei was not wrong. This woman just looks like that. She understands everything and knows what she is doing is right. But he doesn't have the tenacity to be the supreme ruler of the world. In the final analysis, she is still the pampered princess of the Blazing Sun Empire. She is not unruly, but she is really willful, and she is not a person who can endure hardship at all. And if you want to command an increasingly larger territory, it will definitely not be easy. It's normal that she can't stand this. Moreover, the lack of relevant governing experience and the immaturity of her own team did allow her to do many tasks that were not originally given to her. The Queen of Mengchuan Kingdom. Suyi also believes that sleeping 2 hours a day is not an exaggeration on her part, but her current situation. In this case, thanks to her being a 7th level master of both magic and martial arts, if she were an ordinary person, she would probably die suddenly. So, if you think about it carefully, it's quite normal for her to want to give up her career, but we really have to dig deeper to find the reason. In the final analysis, her own way of handling administrative work is not mature enough. What to do? Suyi had a headache. After hesitating for a moment, he looked at Wei. So what do you mean by this now? Don't look at me like that. I said I won't quit now, but after this, you have to help me solve these problems. I don't want to open my eyes every day to see a mountain of government affairs. Wei's impatience was very obvious, and for some reason, Suyi even sounded a bit spoiled and naughty. I'm so tired. It's really weird that such words can come out of this woman's mouth. He felt a headache after hearing it. Rubbing his brows, Suyi said helplessly, "No, that's your world, your territory. Shouldn't you find a way to solve this problem yourself? Why do you have to pester me to solve it for you? Aren't all your royal relatives demigods? They used to hold important positions in the Qiang Empire, and even served as emperors, right? Aren't they all top-notch cattle and horses? Just throw the matter to them to deal with. If something goes wrong, just chop off a few ancestors, who can still say anything." Wei said very simply, "I don't trust those old guys, and they will not gradually promote the modernization of the magic world according to my wishes. If these important powers are handed over to them, or to anyone in the magic world, problems will eventually arise, and it will be more troublesome to deal with them at that time, so it's better for you to solve these things, and I've said it before, the magic world can also be yours." Chapter 390. I'll go back and think about it. Let's talk about these things later. Let's prepare for tomorrow first. So, Yi hurriedly fled the trading platform. He was still more accustomed to Wei's fussy attitude.
This sudden change in attitude almost hurt his old waist, and it seemed that no matter how he answered these questions, it was not appropriate. It would be better to go back and calm down first. When Wee saw him running away, she just supported her cheeks with her bare hands, leaned on the table, and pondered for a long time, not knowing what she was thinking. After a long time, she sighed and returned to the magic world. After all, these were just some small episodes before the real big thing happened, and the real highlight was soon staged. The next morning, a lot of bad news was delivered to Wee's table. The forces under the command of several princes who were participating in the chicken-eating war in the south had tacitly entered a state of truce, and their respective elite troops began to move north without stopping. Just last night, the Fiery Knights, known as the strongest knights of the empire, led by the eldest prince, the current pseudo-emperor of the Qiang Empire, had arrived at the southernmost provincial border of the Mengchuan Kingdom. As a super strong army with an average strength of more than the 7th level warriors, riding 6th level monsters, and wearing armor, and holding weapons with magical patterns, the Fiery Knights can run 5,000 kilometers overnight, so it is naturally no problem to get here within 3 days. It is meaningless to stop them at the border of the Mengchuan Kingdom. Wee has long ordered that there is no need to stop the passes along the way. When encountering these invading troops, they can just open and let them pass. Facing the most elite troops of the empire, these city defense forces of the Mengchuan Kingdom are simply no match, and it is impossible for them to defend the passes. There is no need to add meaningless casualties with the arrival of the Fiery Knights. The Meteor Knights under the command of the second prince, the Dark Knights under the command of the third prince, and so on, also appeared one after another, although it is no secret that the gods of the Qiang royal family appeared in Mengchuan City. Logically speaking, these princes should come and bow down, hand over their army to Wee, who is recognized by the ancestors, and abdicate obediently. But in actual operation, these ambitious princes are naturally unwilling to admit defeat so easily. They think that the ancestors recognize Wee, mainly because Wee has mastered the method to the other world. At that time, as long as Wee builds the time and space gate, they will naturally be favored and recognized by the ancestors at that time. If you want to be the emperor of the empire, isn't it just a word from the ancestors? Do you still need to participate in the chicken eating competition to fight for life and death? As for internal fighting in front of the ancestors, this has happened more than once in the history of the Qiang Empire. In the past, there were also cases where the descendants who were favored by the gods level ancestors of the Qiang Empire, but ultimately failed in the competition, and the descendants who were not favored by the ancestors still took the throne. Facts have proved that the gods and ancestors of the Qiang Empire basically do not act on impulse. They all look at their abilities, and their own preferences are not important. These princes believe that, as long as they can compete with Wee, the ancestors will naturally stand on their side. In the final analysis, everyone is a family. Whoever is in power, so they will not give up their original goals at this moment. It's just that compared with the previous chicken eating competition, the way they compete now has become how to get the recognition of their ancestors. In addition to these princes, the elite troops carefully selected by the northern aliens also left behind more than 2 billion aliens behind and lightly traveled around the pass in the mountains and went south all the way. According to the latest news, they have arrived at the plane that is expected to be used to open the gate of time and space this morning. The whereabouts of the dragons in Dragon Island are relatively mysterious, but they are one step ahead of all forces other than the gods. Last night, someone saw a large number of giant dragons circling in the sky in the mountains north of Mengchuan City. The so-called punishment mage corps of the Magic Empire also arrived at the kingdom of Mengchuan late last night. At this time, they were living in the branch of the Magic Union in Mengchuan City with no intention of hiding their whereabouts as expected. The Yellow Sand Empire deployed 1 million troops on the border and went to war without declaration. Overnight, it seized control of the 12 provinces in the northwest and at the same time sent the most elite Golden Knights of the Yellow Sand Empire to the territory of the Kingdom of Mengchuan. According to the speed, they are almost there now. This is still a major force in the world, and there are countless small forces secretly that can't help but get involved. What forces such as the Mercenary Union,
The Night Union, the Church of Light, and the Eternal Chamber of Commerce are of course not worth mentioning compared to several human empires with deep foundations, and they are also inferior to the dragons on Dragon Island Point but behind. These forces are real gods, and they are definitely the top forces in the magic world point. The current Mengchuan kingdom, specifically the plane area chosen to place the time-space gate, has become the focus of the world spotlight point. The main point is that all the young and old, all the wise men, and all the heroes gathered here to celebrate the event point according to the god Chiang. The entire magic world has basically arrived except for some gods who are sleeping and not concerned with worldly affairs. It is not an exaggeration to say that there are so many immortals, this scene of vitality and everything competing. If you don't know, you really think it is to witness the historical moment of the opening of the portal to another world point, and the fact is that the witness is true and the tension is also true point. As long as we puts down the portal, it will be like the whistle for the start of the game point. A cruel war that may not have been seen in the magic world for nearly tens of thousands of years will break out on this vast plane point, and the weakest in this war may be the soldiers with the strength of the 7th level warriors in the world's top knights. The strongest are the ceiling of the world's combat power, those gods who have not fought for tens of thousands of years. As for Wee, what if she quits at the critical moment and does not open the portal? Under normal circumstances, this is impossible. Even if the previous notice was a temporary idea, she was not prepared to open this permanent time and space door at that time. When things developed to this point, she had to bite the bullet and open it point. Unless she doesn't plan to have her own fiefdom point, although Wee has the only buff in the world that can communicate with the other world, those gods will definitely not allow others to touch her. But if she can't touch her, can she touch others? When that time comes, the powerful people who gathered here but were stood up will probably be angry and turn the entire Mengchuan kingdom into a scorched earth with no grass. Chapter 391. Compared to the grand occasion in the magic world point, Yingzhou Island, where the time-space gate is to be placed on Blue Star, has also attracted the attention of the world point. Even because of the popularity of the internet, the number of people on Blue Star, which is far less than that of the magic world, is probably more concerned about this matter than in the neighboring magic world point. There is no way, because that place is still in the era of cold weapons, and the speed of information dissemination is still too slow. In just 3 days, only a small group of people at the top or middle and high end of the magic world know what happened point. The common people at the bottom probably don't know about this at all point. But Blue Star is different point. With the 3 days of publicity by the media of various countries, this matter has almost attracted the attention of everyone in the world who can access the internet point. The heat is so high that it explodes. This is a major event that has never happened since the beginning of the world, at least for the current Blue Star civilization point, and the Xianyu group has no intention of concealing it, so it is inevitable that it will attract a lot of attention point. Even Jiazhou, which has always been cautious, fully consulted Su Yi's opinion this time and confirmed that there would be no accidents when the time and space gate was opened, and opened the qualification to enter Yingzhou Island without reservation point. Anyone in Jiazhou does not even need to apply. As long as they can afford a ticket, they can go to the island to watch the ceremony point. After more than 2 days of construction, Yingzhou Island has changed from a small island reef to a large island with an area of more than 1,500 square kilometers. The island is not only an endless flat landform. During the construction, a mountain range stretching for dozens of kilometers was designed on the island in order to consider the subsequent climate control. The main peaks of the mountain range are as high as 3 or 4,000 meters, and there is a transmission system inside, which can be artificially lifted and lowered, and the adjustable range is up and down by 1,000 meters at the same time. It is also equipped with a high-power wind guidance device point. When necessary, it can actively destroy the core part of the super typhoon approaching the land and disperse it. At the same time, it can also gather water vapor to a certain extent, artificially create some small typhoons that are not harmful, and send them to the land to increase precipitation point. This design is expected to greatly improve the climate conditions in the southern sea area of Kyushu, reduce the threat of typhoon disasters in the southern coastal areas of Kyushu by 60%, and not affect the precipitation on land point. These artificial mountains not only have these functions, but also have a unique and beautiful appearance, with layers of mountains and rugged rocks, even though the greening work is still being gradually rolled out, and has not been completed, it is already very beautiful. Therefore, in addition to watching the ceremony, many people also want to go to the island, to see the style of this largest artificial island in human history. Well, Yingzhou Island is actually larger than Penglai Island in terms of area. In addition to Kyushu people outside Kyushu can also go to the island. But the conditions are more complicated. Kyushu has given this place a series of buffs such as a bridgehead connecting to another world, a cross-world comprehensive free trade zone, etc. In the foreseeable future, this will be the core area where Kyushu's economy focuses. In principle, foreigners are definitely not allowed to come to such a key place at this stage. But after all, this is a major event that can affect the fate of the whole world, and it seems a bit too stingy to do it secretly behind closed doors. So, after thinking again and again, the top leaders of Jiuzhou still made a loophole. First of all, Yingzhou Island has been clearly stated to belong to Jiuzhou's territory, so if you, a foreigner, want to go to the island, you must first have a visa from Jiuzhou. You can't say that you don't even have a visa from Jiuzhou, but you want to go to Jiuzhou's island, right? That's too ridiculous. In addition, you need to go to the relevant department with a visa to apply for a special pass. This pass is divided into several types, including commercial passes, travel passes and media passes. There is no limit on the number of commercial passes and media passes. After all, there is a threshold, and only so many can be obtained. If you want to get a commercial pass to go to the island for inspection, the company behind it must have a certain size. Not just any cat or dog who opens a convenience store can be considered a commercial inspection and sneak onto the island. The media pass also has to be from a legitimate media. As for self-media, they can actually get a media pass, but this requires a certain number of fans, and in addition to the number of fans, there are also some other requirements. For example, if you are a self-media that has long been posting anti-Jiuzhou comments on the internet, and now you say you have 10 million fans, and you want to apply to go to the island, can you be allowed to go? Get out of here as far as you can. In this regard, the right of interpretation belongs entirely to Jiuzhou. The travel pass that is easiest for individuals to apply for is also the most difficult to obtain. Because it is limited to 100,000. And when a foreigner goes through all the above processes and obtains the qualification to go to the island, there is another problem that they cannot avoid. You may not be able to grab a ticket. Although the core area of Yingzhou Island has been built, this place can only accommodate 2 million people. So, in order to control the number of people going to the island, so as not to cause some accidents due to overcrowding, or to make everyone have no place to sleep together on the island, and can't even eat a bite of food, Jiuzhou's cruise to Yingzhou Island is limited. Theoretically, even with the propellers running day and night for the past 2 days, they can only send 1.8 million people to the island at most. It will not exceed the current maximum carrying capacity of the island. And the people of Kyushu do not have any prerequisites to go to the island, and they can grab tickets as soon as they are available. Foreigners have to go through a lot of messy procedures before they can grab tickets. There are so many people in Kyushu, it's impossible to grab them. So, even though Kyushu has released 100,000 tourist passes for foreigners, it's hard to say whether there will be 5,000 foreigners who can finally get to the island with this thing. On the contrary, most of those who hold media and business passes have their own special channels. And it's not a big problem to get a boat ticket, but the size of this group of people is always too small, and it is estimated that there are only about 2,000 to 3,000 in total. This has led to countless envious glances from foreigners who have gone to the island for a while, making many people who didn't get tickets and couldn't witness this historic moment drool with envy. And the Kyushu people who got the tickets quickly and uploaded them early took photos and checked into their moments as soon as they got to the island, which naturally attracted a lot of envy. In addition to the spontaneous civilians who came to watch the ceremony, a large number of politicians from all over the world also came. Don't worry about whether this matter is good or bad for your country. For such a major event that can affect the future direction of the world, it is better to get involved and have a sense of existence than being an outsider. It is also a point that can be mentioned in your political career. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 392. If a nuclear weapon is dropped here now, I'm afraid that most countries in the world will be in civil strife. On the roof of a newly built building on Yingzhou Island, Suyui sighed as he looked at the bustling crowd below. The main reason is that there are too many politicians and business giants from various countries who came here today. Anyone with a little power and energy on the entire Blue Star, even if they don't like to join in the fun, is unwilling to give up the opportunity to witness such a historic moment. If a big firecracker is really dropped here, the entire Blue Star will have to be reshuffled. After all, this world is not just about those big countries with full fault tolerance mechanisms. Many small countries do not have any fault tolerance mechanisms. Suddenly losing the official core team is equivalent to the collapse of the national regime. The same is true for companies. If all the board members suddenly disappear overnight, then the road of this company has come to an end. Either it will be torn apart by internal power struggles, or it will be swallowed up and changed by external forces. I'm afraid no one in the world dares to do such a thing. Old Man Lin is not too worried about this. Jiazhou has always been rigorous in doing things. Even for this kind of accident that theoretically should not have any accidents, it has also made layers of protection for it. The entire Yingzhou Island is now completely armed by Jiazhou. The air defense density on the island is the highest in the world. There are dozens of the most advanced shield ships cruising on the sea around the island. Several aircraft carrier formations are now less than 500 nautical miles away from Yingzhou Island on average. The early warning aircraft on the aircraft carrier is patrolling non-stop. The defense network supported by this has covered 1,500 nautical miles. The military satellites in the sky are closely watching several countries on the blue planet with ultra-long range strike capabilities to ensure that they can respond in time in case of emergencies. Compared to this, we are more worried about whether there will be problems with today's ceremony. Old Man Lin said with a little concern. Now the eyes of the world are watching here, and there has been no advance rehearsal before. Is it really okay? It is naturally impossible for Suyui to rehearse the opening of the time and space gate in advance. This led to the fact that the Jiazhou official side was somewhat twisted in their attitude towards making it known to the world and letting the whole world witness it. After all, no matter how you look at it, it was a bit too hasty. If something unexpected happened and the portal failed to open, it would be a shame to the whole world. There will definitely be problems, and they are big, but they will not be in the opening of the portal. Suyui shrugged. Instead of worrying about this, I think you might as well send a few more sketchers and photographers to record what will happen after the time-space portal is opened. These pictures are extremely valuable reference materials and will definitely be useful in the future. The time-space portal produced by the trading platform will definitely not have any problems. This is not because he is blindly confident in the trading platform, but this thing has actually been bought by him, and the placement work has been completed. The huge square in the middle of Yingzhou Island, which covers an area of nearly 5 square kilometers and is made of gold and jade, is actually the main body of the time-space portal. It's just that this thing is too big and was installed when the island was built. So it looks like a big square. Even the people of Jiazhou only knew that the place was where the gate of time and space was placed, but they didn't know that thing was the gate of time and space. And the precious scenes that Suyui mentioned were naturally the warm welcome ceremony of the magic world after the gate of time and space was opened. For the people of Blue Star, not only did they go to Yingzhou Island to witness this historic moment, but they could also watch the fight between the gods in the other world after witnessing it. The ticket price was worth it. By the way, they could also see with their own eyes what kind of power Suyui, the chairman of Shianayu Group,
now holds in his hands. In order to avoid any trouble on Blue Star in the future. Blue Star is very special, but its size is a bit too small compared to the world of immortal cultivation, the magic world, and even the interstellar world. Sui didn't want to fight and kill on it and make it a mess, so it is obviously a more economical and convenient solution to show some strength to deter some restless people and make them honest. At the same time, it can also solve the problems of the magic world. These are indeed all in his plan. As for what role these video materials and on-site text descriptions will play in the future, that role is huge. The metaphysical side of the Blue Star's extraordinary power system has just started. Now we can directly watch the fight between gods and the collision of the top legions of the metaphysical side world up close. This can not only serve as a warning to the future Blue Star people when using this metaphysical side power, but also inspire those who will follow the metaphysical side system in the future to a certain extent. Today is not only the first time that the Blue Star people saw the time and space gate unfold, but also the first time that the Blue Star people seriously watched another metaphysical side world collision. And the dimensionality reduction attack from the higher dimensional metaphysical side world. You mentioned this before, and we will naturally not forget it. The official high-level meeting recording team is all in place. All the authoritative media and professional photography teams in the film and television industry have been found by us, and we have also organized and coordinated them in our unique organizational method. I can guarantee that, no matter what happened here today, after the records of these teams and the data collation of our professional team behind us, future generations thousands of years later will also be able to be there and fully understand what happened here today. Old Man Lin said with great confidence. The questions Sui specifically raised are usually more important and will not go wrong. This time he specifically mentioned that Jia's how should prepare a professional team to record the things here from an objective perspective and ensure that these recorded things can be properly sorted and kept and popularized so that everyone, including future generations, will know. Although the official did not know what would happen, they still did it very seriously. It's almost time. You can notify the tourists who come to the island to gather at the square in the middle of the island. We should also go downstairs to prepare. So Yi looked at the time and prepared to go downstairs. Hearing this, Old Man Lin suddenly became curious and asked, "What is the material of that square? I passed by it once this morning, and I always felt that it was not cement or marble." The knowledgeable people who accompanied me said it was white marble at first, but later said it was not, and there was no trace of splicing. It was a whole piece. I really don't know how you made it. It's right that you can't understand it, because that is the gate of time and space, and the material is spiritual stone, a whole piece of spiritual stone. Chapter 393. It's almost time, right? The time previously set was 12 noon, but now it's 11:45, and there are still 15 minutes left. There are only 15 minutes left. Why haven't we seen any engineering equipment or staff showing up yet? Isn't it because we are letting go? Cross-world permanent portal. This is the name of the gate of time and space on the Shia Group's official website. No matter how you look at it, it shouldn't be a small thing. How come you haven't seen its shadow yet? Is it possible that the device itself is not big? Just lift it up and open it directly when the time comes. How is that possible? Go read the introduction yourself. Shia Group estimates that after the construction of this thing is completed, hundreds of millions of tons of goods can be traded between the two worlds every day. You told me that this thing is not big. How can so much goods pass through you? Tell me. Stop yelling. It's not time yet. Are you in a hurry? That's right. We'll have the answer in 10 minutes. Why are you so anxious now? You can't live anymore. The central square of Yingzhou Island was filled with people. The huge time-space gate of nearly 5 square kilometers is now like a huge venue, and there is no problem in accommodating less than 2 million people. It's just that the people standing here don't know that they are now standing on the gate of time and space. Many people are still guessing why there are only 10 minutes left before the scheduled opening time.
There is still no movement at all in the open space and high platform point. However, with only the last few minutes left, nearly 2 million people were present and hundreds of millions of people watching the live broadcast were eagerly waiting. Suyi's figure finally appeared in the middle of the huge square point as usual. He was wearing a set of loose casual clothes. On such a world famous occasion, he didn't even bother to wear formal clothes. On the contrary, Yuling, who was behind Suyi, was born in a noble family in the magical world. On such occasions, she would subconsciously abide by the interests of the nobles. She dressed up specially and put on a gorgeous dress. As soon as the two appeared on the stage, they immediately caused a roar like a tsunami. There is no other reason for this. Even if you put aside the incredible buffs of the chairman of the Shiranayu group and the chairman's wife and CEO, both of them have enough image to become world-class traffic stars naturally. There is a very large fan base. When the whistling gradually subsided, Suyi stood on the high platform in the middle and said, "I've kept you waiting for a long time. Everyone gathered here today is not here to listen to my nonsense, but to witness this historic moment together. I heard some noises just now. Many of my friends seemed to be very confused as to why they didn't see where the gate of time and space was when the time was almost up. So now, let me clear up everyone's doubts." Having said that, Suyi just had a thought in his mind. The entire square, which was made of neither gold nor jade, but whose material was unknown, seemed to come alive. The flat ground on both sides of the central platform slowly rises and finally relies on the platform to turn into an oval portal with a height of more than 1,000 meters. Suyi and Juling, who were standing on the high platform at this time, happened to be directly in front of the portal. The sudden change made everyone present stunned for a moment. Then there were gasps of surprise and gasps. Those who reacted quickly picked up the cameras in their hands to take pictures or videos and record them. This magical scene. Ever since the Shiranayu group appeared, buildings measuring over 1,000 meters on Blue Star are no longer so impressive. But that refers to the 1,000-meter level building standing there alone. A huge arch measuring thousands of meters tall grows out of thin air like it does now, and it grows slowly under the gaze of so many people. The visual impact this brings to people is definitely much more exaggerated than any movie or TV series in human history. Many people even froze in place for a while, thinking that they were in a magical world and simply couldn't believe that this was real. However, Suyi's next words made everyone present confused again. "Look, does this look like the gate of time and space that everyone imagined? It's towering and majestic." Suyi smiled slightly. However, the reality is that the gate of time and space can look like this, and it can indeed be used, but the effect will be greatly reduced. But I will keep this part and regard it as a landmark of the gate of time and space. As for the real gate of time and space, Suyi looked around from the high platform, smiled slightly and said, "I believe many smart friends have already guessed it, right? At your feet, yes, the so-called Yingzhou Island Central Square is actually the gate of time and space. Everyone is standing on the gate of time and space now. Compared with traditional portals, this kind of space-time gate that is directly arranged on the ground like a teleportation array can complete the connection between the two worlds and greatly increase the efficiency of material exchange with other worlds. Today is the day when the gate of time and space opens. Everyone has traveled thousands of miles to come here, so we, the Shiranayu group, the Kaishu official, and the Mengchuan kingdom in another world, cooperated with each other to prepare a surprise for everyone present. This surprise is a day trip to another world." As soon as Suyi finished speaking, the entire central square of Yingzhou Island, the gate of time and space, burst into bright white light. Lines of white light began to spread under everyone's feet, as if they were alive, and gradually covered the entire teleportation gate. Suyi continued, "It may not be appropriate to call it a one-day trip, because in the next few hours, for the sake of everyone's safety, you may not be able to leave the scope of this portal. Not to mention traveling to other worlds. It is really important to travel. Friends who are interested in other worlds will have plenty of opportunities in the future, so there is no rush. Of course, we can fully understand the idea of some friends who only want to observe the inauguration ceremony of the gate of time and space, and do not want to take the risk to see another world, and we respect it. The gate of time and space is still in the preparation stage. It is expected that the cross-world teleportation will start in 10 minutes. Those who do not want to go to another world can just leave the central square. After the teleportation is completed, what will happen to the other world? Things will also be projected into the portal behind me through the gate of time and space. You can still see the scenery of the other world and what is about to happen in Blue Star, just like watching a movie. The only difference is that those who go to the different world together can experience it personally, while those who have not gone can only experience it through the pictures. Speaking of this, Sui spread his hands and said with a smile, "By the way, a friendly reminder, because of the opening of the portal, the other world is now brewing a grand war that will never be seen in the past. After passing, it is equivalent to going deep into the battlefield to watch the battle, and as long as it is within the scope of the gate of time and space, it is safe. The problem is completely covered. It's up to you how you choose. This is also an Easter egg we have prepared for you. Even if you don't go, you won't lose anything. You can also see with your own eyes the first time the gate of time and space is activated to connect to another world, just like you thought before coming here." Scene. Chapter 394. Didn't we agree to just come to watch the ceremony? There's even a free experience of riding a portal to another world. Take the portal to another world, watch the war that's about to break out, and as long as you stay in the portal, your personal safety is 100% guaranteed. Who can refuse this? Can I ask how long it will take to get back to Blue Star? Is the technology stable enough? Will there be any accidents? I really want to go, but I have parents and children to take care of. What if an accident happens? Don't go if you're hesitant. Didn't Mr. Su say that it's still time to get off the car? Anyway, I can't wait. Drive. As soon as Suyi said this, except for some people who were timid and didn't trust these technologies, most people had no intention of leaving the portal point. As for those who were watching the live broadcast online, they were already envious. Why didn't you tell me earlier that there was such an Easter egg event? If you had told me earlier, I would have gone, even if I had to sell everything I had. I'm in the South. When the tickets were on sale, I thought it was just an opening ceremony, nothing to watch. Ordinary people like us don't pursue the sense of ceremony. I can save a few $100s on the tickets and buy some snacks and watch the live broadcast online. You didn't say that I can experience the portal to the other world when I go there. I'm so awesome. Those who got the tickets and then returned them cried and fainted in the toilet. The people at the scene were already laughing like crazy. I originally planned to join in the fun during the weekend, but I didn't expect there would be such a good thing. Don't worry, brothers, wait for me to take a video of the battle in the other world and upload it to the internet to share with everyone. You bastard, you dare to mock me. I will be the first to complain when your video is posted. I just heard that there are no businesses on Yingzhou Island yet, but there is almost nothing missing on it, and these things are all free. It's outrageous. This is caused by not carefully reading the announcement on the Shianayu Group official website. Since the date was announced, the Shianayu Group official website has updated a detailed announcement of logistics support, which mentioned that Shianayu Group Chairman Su approved a large amount of funds to provide the first batch of tourists to the island with completely free services in all aspects, and food, drink, and accommodation on the island are all free. There is such a good thing. Why don't you go up, if you know it? A ticket is only a little more money, and you will have a lot of fun after going up. Who said I didn't come up? I'm on the time and space gate now. I'm a dog thief. Such important news was not told to everyone in advance, and I ran up to eat alone. This matter is very important to Shianayu Group and Jiazhou, so those ticket scalpers dare not make a fuss about it. The price of a boat ticket to Yingzhou Island in Jiazhou is actually relatively normal. From the nearest place, the cheapest boat ticket is even less than 100 yuan. If you go to a place farther away, or choose a more luxurious cruise ship, the ticket is usually only a few hundred yuan. As for the particularly luxurious cruise ships that sell for thousands of yuan per ticket, there are not many of them. Because Jiazhou does not arrange many cruise ships of this specification. Ordinary people do not need to choose this thing. to waste money. Point in addition to the ticket, there is almost no place to spend money after arriving on the island. Point 1 is that Yingzhou Island and the buildings on it are newly built, and there are not many businesses settled in. Point another is that Xianyu Group is rich and powerful. In order to do this beautifully, Su Yi directly allocated 2 billion funds to the logistics support department, allowing Xianshu to use it at will and serve everyone on the island. Point without any corruption or any middlemen making a profit. The supplies that can be supplied by 2 billion real money are too outrageous. It can be said that all the food and drinks on the island are provided free of charge by Xianyu Group, and the quality is very good. Point Jiazhou also has similar arrangements, but the official money is not like Su Yi's own, which can be decided with a wave of his hand, so it is naturally impossible to allocate billions to do this, but several hundred million have been invested. Point so, although there are no places to consume on the island, almost everything to eat, drink, wear and even live in is not lacking, and it is all free. Point so under normal circumstances, most people can afford the ticket, and as long as they can go to the island, they can have a good time. Point, but just like taking the first batch of tourists to the island for a day trip to another world, when the portal was opened, these free things on the island were not deliberately promoted before. Point the main reason is that if it is really promoted like this, I'm afraid that the number of people who want to go to the island will far exceed expectations. This can also be regarded as a means to control the number of people going to the island. Point of course, no matter what, now that all these news have been exposed, it is absolutely enviable and jealous to countless people. Point at the same time, many people are shocked by the generosity of Xianyu Group or Su Yi. Point, just for the logistics support of an event, 2 billion yuan was directly allocated. Only the chairman of Xianyu Group dared to do this. If it were another company, and they spent 2 billion to do something that had almost no meaning except for a good reputation, the entire board of directors would probably go crazy the next day. Point this thing is not the numbers on the stock market, but real money. Point even the largest and richest company in Blue Star could not easily come up with so much liquidity. Point the 10 minutes of waiting time for the guide passed in a flash. Point as most people expected, few people chose to leave in the end. Point the image of Xianyu Group has almost been deeply rooted in the hearts of the people in Blue Star. Even people and politicians from countries that are not on good terms with Xianyu Group will frankly admit that Xianyu Group is leading. Point everyone recognizes the technology of Xianyu Group. Although they are a little nervous about this unknown journey across the world, the human desire to explore the unknown eventually overcomes that little bit of uneasiness. Su Yi stood on the high platform. In addition to Yuling, there was also Xinghun standing behind him. Point the three of them looked at each other, and then he turned to the countless people below and said in a deep voice, "Then, let us witness this great moment together." Transfer. Open. Chapter 395. In fact, Su Yi originally did not plan to organize such an event. He changed his mind temporarily after buying the space-time gate from the trading platform and figuring out its functions, so it was impossible to notify everyone in advance. It just so happened that this was a small surprise for those who came to the scene. Point the space-time gate is very special. As a big treasure that needs to spend 10,000 huge points to buy on the trading platform, it has a lot of functions. Connecting two different worlds is just the most basic function. Point first of all, the defensive ability of this thing. The cultivators who have not reached the level of tribulation or higher on the metaphysical side can never destroy it. Point and to use a description that is easier for everyone on the technology side to understand. That is, if you throw this thing into a black hole and take a bath, it will be fine. Point the strong defensive power does not come from the material of its body. This thing is engraved from a whole piece of super large spiritual stone. The spiritual stone can be regarded as a super energy storage tool in the world of the metaphysical side, but it is definitely not a material with strong defensive power. The abnormal defense ability of the space-time gate comes from its own defense system, which is very advanced. Su Yi can't understand it anyway. Point so after the defense system is turned on, the entire space-time gate will be isolated into an independent small space. As long as the defense of the space-time gate has not been broken, it is absolutely safe inside. Point at the same time, in addition to this defense ability, Su Yi, as the highest authority, also has almost invincible power within the space-time gate. The source of this power is of course the space-time gate itself. Point in short, within the space-time gate, he is a real god, and no one can match him. Point and outside the space-time gate, after the defense system is turned on, outsiders can't get in at all. Point this is why he decided to take the Blue Star people to visit the other world with one thought point. Although the magic world is a metaphysical world, it is impossible for there to be an existence that can break the defense of the space-time gate. Point even the existence that manipulates everything behind the scenes and cuts off the future of the entire world cannot be so strong. Point otherwise, he would not do such a trick in secret. Suyi had already made all the preparations and was about to set off. Point we in the magic world also came to the selected area. Point on the vast plain. It seemed that there was no one except the entourage and relevant officials from Mengchuan City. It was vast and lonely. Point however, she knew that there were countless eyes around her staring at this place. As long as she summoned the time and space gate from the storage space and placed it, the vultures in the dark would immediately come out. Point a shocking war will also begin. Your Majesty, everything is ready according to your request. Chuck, the confidant guard, bowed. Point the huge time and space gate is naturally not easy to put directly on the flat ground. Therefore, when this place was selected 2 days ago, we sent a team of magicians to level the surrounding ground and also dug a corresponding pit according to the size of the time and space gate. Point these preparations are nothing on Blue Star, but they are still difficult to do in the magic world. It took 2 days to send out magicians. Now it's all done, just waiting for her to put it down. Point looking at the exquisite mechanical mark on her wrist that Suyi gave her, Wei nodded and said, it's almost time. Then, let's get started. The next moment, accompanied by a flash of white light, the huge base of the time-space gate fell directly on the vast plain. Point at the same time, a permission confirmation prompt popped up on Weiwei's trading platform panel. Point the time-space gate is two-way, but the highest permission belongs to only one person. Therefore, if you want to place it in another world, you naturally need authorization from the agent of another world, and before authorization, the agent of another world must first understand what this authorization means. Otherwise, once there is an agent with ill intentions, the permission of the time-space gate will be concealed to some extent and given to another agent. Point if another agent puts this thing in his own world without knowing it, wouldn't it cause an invasion from another world in a minute? This violates the fair trading principle of the trading platform. Point so she must first understand the meaning and specific rules of this thing before authorizing it. Point and this authorization must be voluntary and cannot be authorized under any coercion. Point Wei and Suyi have been planning this for so long, so they naturally know what authorization means. After taking a deep breath, she did not hesitate and chose authorization directly. Authorization successful. Blue Star, Magic World, the portal has been successfully connected. The same platform prompt appeared in the ears of Wei and Suyi at the same time. Point after doing all this, Wei took people back a few steps and came to the outside of the portal. Point and then, the portal that had just been placed lit up with strands of white light and began to spread rapidly. In a very short time, the complex pattern spread all over the space-time gate. Point when the light was bright to a certain extent, everyone present could see the visible space distortion. The terrifying fluctuations that tore the air and space made the people around them feel suffocated. Point even the so-called gods hiding in secret couldn't help but feel a palpitation deep in their hearts when they saw with their own eyes the process of the gate of time and space tearing apart the space barrier between the two worlds for the first time to establish a stable connection. Point compared with this boundless power, these so-called gods are like ants facing the sky. Point because it was the first time to connect and establish a channel. The violent spatial fluctuations caused by the opening of the time and space gate lasted for a full 5 or 6 minutes. After the abnormal space fluctuations calmed down, those with a little bit of cultivation couldn't help but hold their breath when they looked at the scope of the gate of time and space. Point although it seems that there are no abnormalities in the scope of the gate of time and space, and it even seems to be integrated with the plane. In the perception of these practitioners, that area seems to have become an area of complete darkness. It's like it looks there, but actually doesn't belong to this world anymore. Point ordinary people would not feel this strange feeling at all, but gods, demigods, and even 8th and 9th level practitioners could clearly feel the abnormality that
should be it. We took a deep breath, looked at the 1,000-meter high arched portal rising slowly in the middle of the gate of time and space, and led people directly below. The next moment, the space in front of her slightly fluctuated, and a person appeared in front of her. First, who is it, if it's not Suyi? Chapter 396. Appearing together with Suyi were Yuling and Crossing Hen. Several senior executives of Shianayu Group participated in related work. As well as the Kyushu diplomatic visit team led by Old Man Lin, who had already received the news from Suyi. We had expected these people to come, but soon, the noise behind her made her stunned for a moment. Looking back, I saw that the huge gate of time and space was already filled with all kinds of people. At a glance, there were probably even a million people who couldn't stop them. And these are all ordinary people without any cultivation. They don't even look as strong as ordinary people in the magic world. However, these people are visibly rosy and full of energy, unlike those ordinary people in the magic world, who have the same complexion, food, malnutrition. In fact, although people in the two worlds are all human beings, they are really easy to distinguish. Although these ordinary people from Kyushu from Blue Star may not be as strong as ordinary people in the magical world, they may even be inferior to the skinny disaster victims in the magical world. But this is a difference caused by the circumstances of the two worlds when it comes to mental outlook. The people in the two worlds are very different. Ordinary people at the bottom of the magical world may not have the courage to look directly at a noble like Wee, and they basically keep their heads down and obey. As for these Blue Star people who suddenly appeared here, most of them had curiosity and expectation in their eyes, and they were shooting around with strange equipment in their hands. The few who noticed the presence of Wee and her group in the gate of time and space mostly looked here curiously, or even hurriedly took pictures with their equipment. There was no look of fear at all. Don't say anything about whether you recognize him or not. It is impossible for ordinary people in the magical world to know all the nobles, with the luxurious dress she is wearing. Even a fool knows that she is not an ordinary person. When she goes to any corner of this continent, the first reaction of any ordinary person when seeing her is, if you bow your head respectfully and give way, how can you have the courage to look directly? And even if he doesn't know her, is it possible that he still doesn't know Suyi? Now Suyi is standing here, but he doesn't see any sign of submissiveness from these Blue Star people. Such a comparison can be described as a judgment call. The bloodline theory that has lasted for hundreds of thousands of years has brought too much poison to the magical world. Of course, this was just the first thought that flashed through Wee's mind. After seeing these people, soon she realized something was wrong. Turned to look at Suyida. Why did you bring so many people here? It's a convenient thing, and it just allows Blue Star fellows like me to come out and see how big the world is. Suyi shrugged and then said, speaking of which, as the host of this occasion, you would say this from the very beginning. Is it appropriate? Why don't we shake hands first to say welcome or something? With that said, Suyi took the initiative to reach out his hand. The two worlds were connected through the gate of time and space, and the two people responsible for leading all of this shook hands. As soon as the gate of time and space was connected and operational for the first time. Isn't this shot much more awesome than the handshake of the century? When the surrounding media reporters and professional recording teams saw this, they quickly pointed their cameras here. Looking at Suyi's hand, Wei hesitated for a moment, then suddenly smiled. This is the etiquette of your Blue Star, but this is the magical world. You are guests from afar, so you should follow our etiquette. With that said, she pushed Suyi's hand away and gave him a big hug without reservation. By the way, while they were face to face, she blew into his ear and said, welcome to the magical world. Yi was really stunned for a moment when the warm and fragrant soft jade came into his arms. Fortunately, he is now experienced in many battles, and he can still handle it at this level. He immediately took advantage of the opportunity to hold Wee's arm and completed this simple hug ceremony. Don't make yourself look too stupid. Of course, he doubted whether there was such etiquette in the wizarding world. After all, when she first met Wee in the trading space, she used the knightly gesture of putting one hand on her chest. I never heard anyone say that I had to give him a hug when I came up. After hugging Suyi,
facing Yuling, and Xinghan behind him. Wei did not hesitate to give her a hug point, but compared to Su Yi's firm hug, if it were someone else, even if they were both women, she would just touch them tentatively. Point switching to those Xianyu group executives and the Jiahao delegation further behind. She simply stopped making any tentative moves and directly learned the blue star handshake on the spot. One of them shook it tentatively, and even she didn't even take off the silk gloves from her dress. These people are not fools. You can guess something from their special attitude towards Su Yi. Point of course, he didn't feel that he was being slighted. On the contrary, he was careful when shaking hands, letting go after a symbolic touch, for fear of making Su Yi unhappy. Point now, who in Blue Star doesn't know how petty this man is? Who dares to touch his woman? After completing the simple welcome ceremony, Wei turned to look at the countless Blue Star people below who were looking forward to it, and said warmly, "The Queen of Mengchuan Kingdom, Wei Blazing Sun, welcomes you all to the magical world." There wasn't much nonsense, but just 2 sentences had already made the whole audience excited. Point, although Wei was really embarrassed by Su Yi, let alone becoming the co-owner of the world, with her own 2 moves. Even the Empress of the Blazing Sun Empire would be embarrassed to understand. Point, but there is no truth to her appearance. Point, the perfect appearance and the noble aura she has developed since she was born in the royal family, coupled with the luxurious queen dress, are exactly the image of the queen imagined by countless Blue Star people in entertainment works. Holy and high pressure, elegant and luxurious, majestic, and calm. Point, just standing here is enough to scare those ignorant Blue Star brothers. After saying these 2 sentences, the Blue Star tourists below went completely crazy. Oh my god, this is the real queen. If you ask me, the queens I saw in those movies and TV shows on Blue Star were just for fun. Compared with this queen, they are just monkeys in disguise. It's true. Not only is she beaten in appearance, but she is also completely inferior in temperament. Don't even mention the actors who played her. Even the queens who existed in Blue Star, such as Elizabeth, are not as real as she looks. She is so beautiful, and her every move seems like she was born to do this. Her temperament is so perfect. Your Majesty, I want to be your dog. Amazing. Chapter 397. This fierce reaction, as well as the occasional outrageous remarks mixed with it, made Wei feel a little confused for a while. Point, she looked back at Su Yi with some worry. Her expression seemed to be asking, are you Blue Star people in such a crazy state of mind? Ahem. The customs and habits of the 2 worlds are different. Please understand. Su Yi coughed twice, and then quickly changed the topic. What do you mean? What about those troublemakers in your world? Wei did not struggle with such a small issue. After hearing this, she turned her head and looked in a certain direction, pursed her lips and said, well, isn't that coming? Su Yi looked in the direction she was looking, and sure enough, she saw a black line slowly emerging on the edge of the distant mountains. Then the black line gradually spread and soon rushed over like a wave. TSK, the first one who lost his temper was indeed my 3rd brother. Wei sneered. These are the 2 knights under his command, with a total of 100,000 troops, and they are also his elite confidants. However, these 2 cavalry regiments are at the level of first-class knights here at most, and the average strength per capita is about 5 or 6. It may be considered strong compared to those ordinary knights, but it is far behind the most elite knights in the empire whose average strength is above level 7. But there are other forces behind him, and the trump card in the fight for the world is not these knights. It's normal to throw out the chips first. What? A generous move. Su Yi said with emotion. Wei knew that this was a tentative move, and the 3rd prince was not stupid, so it was impossible for him not to know. But he still did it despite knowing it, which shows that in his opinion, these 100,000 cavalry are nothing, and they will be gone, if they are gone. In ancient Kyushu, if something went wrong with such a large-scale cavalry unit, it could completely affect the survival of a dynasty. But in this magical world, they are completely discarded. This is the difference between the 2 worlds. However, just such an abandoned child is quite shocking. As the saying goes, if you have more than 10,000 soldiers, you will have no borders. If you have more than 100,000, Soldiers, you will reach the sky point, not to mention that the mounts under the cavalry of these magical world are all magical creatures, which are much taller and stronger than the horses of Blue Star, and the knights on them wear thicker armor. After spreading out on this vast plain, the deterrence brought by 100,000 cavalry is simply unimaginable. The huge army that came like a tide made most people in the gate of time and space feel terrified. However, this is just the beginning. The third prince's army seemed to have dropped a stone on the calm lake. The originally endless lonely plain also began to boil at this time. Large amounts of smoke and dust were raised from several other directions at the same time, and a large number of well-equipped and majestic cavalry slowly surrounded them, shrouding the gate of time and space from several directions at the same time. The number of ground troops who appeared here in this short period of time alone is probably 3 to 5 million. At the same time, strange stars gradually appeared in the sky. A large number of magicians appeared in the sky driving special magic vehicles. At the same time, there were roars of giant dragons from the mountains in the distance. Countless giant dragons showed their figures, blocking the sky and the sun. In the mountains due north, the Behemoth Beast Legion, the most powerful among the alien races in the north, walked out with heavy steps, followed by a large number of tall, strong, heavily armored orc warriors and countless special monsters riding on them. The car is a light, agile and handsome elf. Visually, the number of combat units alone is no less than 1 million. On the high platform, an accompanying Kaishu officer sighed, "I'm afraid there has never been a cold weapon war with so many troops gathered in such a small area in the history of Blue Star. This welcome ceremony is really grand." This was of course a joke. In fact, Suyi told them what they would encounter before coming here, so they were naturally well prepared. It's just that, even if you are prepared, you can't help but feel a little emotional when a war of this scale is about to break out. This can be regarded as showing the characteristics of the magical world to us guests. How can it not be regarded as a warm welcome? Suyi didn't care, and was even in the mood to joke. Seeing this, we were somewhat uneasy. Heart calmed down a bit. When she came to the gate of time and space this time, she actually only brought along Chuck and a few other confidants who she could absolutely trust. She didn't bring in any of the ancestors of the gods. After all, as an agent, she knew exactly what kind of defense the gate of time and space had, and she also knew that it was absolutely safe inside. But internally, she didn't know what Suyi's abilities were as the person with the highest permission. Therefore, in order to prevent his ancestors from suddenly rebelling against Suyi, he naturally could not bring anyone in. But the ancestors are now following her, so naturally they cannot be idle when encountering such a thing. In fact, except for the 20,000 Jiao people in Mengchuan City who cannot be fully guaranteed due to the deterioration of the external environment, they were taken in by Weiwei outside the trading platform space. The remaining combat troops have basically gathered around this plain. There are more than 3 million troops, including more than 500,000 firearms troops. These people are almost proficient in using basic artillery and other weapons, even with the help of Suyi's inheritance Jade Slip. She also trained nearly 10,000 operators who specialize in high precision weapons. During the last batch of transactions, she specially introduced a large number of high precision weapons and ultra long range strategic weapons from Jiao. At this time, these troops that combined the weapons and combat styles of the two systems of the magic world and Blue Star have been fully deployed on the periphery of the plain. Seeing this, Weiwei also took a long breath and said, "Do we need to bury them all here?" In order to deal with this situation, Weiwei and Suyi prepared two plans. One is to wait for these people to kill each other, and they just need to wait for the highest level gods to come out and harvest them. The other is to take the initiative to attack and catch them all after these forces appear. Before the two plans, it was difficult to say which one to choose, and it was hard to say which one was better, but now it is different. These armies from various forces appeared and pressed hard towards the gate of time and space, but they had no intention of attacking each other at all, which to a certain extent gave a lot of information. The first plan requires these forces to kill each other. If they don't kill each other, but first unite to eliminate the forces of Weiwei, the original owner of the gate of space and time, then this plan will obviously not work. This is actually what is bound to happen. behind the various forces that come here are actually their own gods originally. Everyone came to rob based on their abilities, but the gods of the Chiang family directly joined Wee at this critical juncture. The gods of the Chiang family are not weak, which will naturally cause dissatisfaction and vigilance of other gods. They will naturally take the initiative to unite and eliminate you, the biggest threat. First point as for how to distribute the benefits after the elimination. That will naturally be discussed later. Chapter 398. To a certain extent, this can be regarded as a chain reaction caused by Wee's surrender of her ancestors, but this itself doesn't matter. Suyi had no intention of letting these forces come here today and let them leave alive. It doesn't make much difference in itself whether to take the initiative or watch the show first and then clean up the mess upon hearing Wee's inquiry. He said without thinking, "Just get started." As he spoke, he did not forget to glance at old man Lin from the Kaishu delegation behind him, and said with a smile, "Speaking of which, this wave can be regarded as an advertisement for your Kaishu weapons. After all, in addition to a large number of Blue Star people watching here, there are also a large number of natives from the magical world. If the effect of this battle is good, I guarantee that the Kaishu military industry will have to receive orders from other worlds." Old man Lin was not that confident. Looking at those tall, majestic and armed to the teeth elite troops of the magical world, he said with some worry, "I just don't know if our weapons will work well on a battlefield like this." So, Yi waved his hand indifferently. The weakest enemy on this battlefield is estimated to be at the 5th or 6th level. If you pick one out alone, throw it to Blue Star, and let it infiltrate into the city, it will probably be enough for you to have a headache. Blue Star is not suitable at all. The weapons can't deal with units with such strong individual strength in complex environments, but it's different here. This is a cemetery I carefully selected for the so-called high-end combat forces in the magical world. After saying that, he looked at Wee. Wee glanced at the guard Chuck. Chuck nodded, took out a walkie-talkie and ordered directly, "Let's get started." Indiscriminate bombing. As soon as he finished speaking, thunder broke the silence on the plain. What followed was countless thunderous explosions. However, the elite troops from various forces gathered on the plain were not afraid at all. Before they came, they had already had an in-depth understanding of the power of these special weapons from other worlds in Mengchuan City. Now they dare to gather on such a plain and maintain such a tight formation. It is obvious that they have already had a countermeasure. Don't be surprised. In fact, no matter what the world is, the top management is very knowledgeable about the latest practical things that appear in the world. Even though Blue Star Kaishu was considered a last feudal dynasty to be decadent, backward and conservative, the emperor knew that the Industrial Revolution was taking place in the West, and that the Great Voyage of Navigation was in full swing. He even had a steam engine in his personal collection. Mengchuan City has been using Blue Star weapons for so long. It would be stupid if the people in the magic world were still the same as those aliens who ran over and were bombed without any knowledge. The fact is, no matter how you disparage meat eaters, people who can stand at the top of the world cannot be true fools. Even if there is a fool standing at the front desk, it can only be a mascot. There must be a smart person behind the scenes. Just like now, the shells sprayed from the hundreds of thousands of artillery deployed in Mengchuan City from all directions fell on this vast but somewhat narrow plain, but they were unable to cause any damage to the densely packed troops above. A large number of magicians accompanying the army set up a terrifying air defense barrier the moment the cannonballs rang out. Countless cannonballs hit the barrier and burst into scorching flames, but they were unable to have the slightest impact on the sheltered troops below. The millions of coalition troops from all parties are still advancing and hurriedly getting closer and closer to the gate of time and space. However, faced with this situation, neither Wei nor Suyi seemed to care. Just watch quietly. Until a certain moment. The corner of Suyi's mouth curled up, and the original defensive barrier around the gate of time and space suddenly turned into a translucent dark color, as if everyone inside was wearing sunglasses. Old man Lin behind him immediately realized something, and couldn't help but look at Suyi with wide eyes and some shock. Before he could say anything, the really big one had already arrived. The warheads, which were so fast that even 9th level magicians and warriors could not react,
slammed down with great force. The speed of the warhead has far exceeded the imagination of the humans on Blue Star. It directly shattered the thick clouds above the plane and fell straight down like a punishment from heaven. Immediately afterwards, there was a scorching light that could blind everyone's eyes and a terrifying movement like the earth was shaking. However, this is just the beginning. As the first warhead enters the field, the second, third, fourth, there are a total of 30 rounds of Kyushu's latest intercontinental missiles, each of which is equipped with 12 separately guided nuclear warheads. Each warhead carries a hydrogen bomb with a yield of 3 million tons. These are the latest intercontinental missiles that have been urgently developed and manufactured by relevant research and development institutions in Kyushu. Compared with the previous generation of intercontinental missiles, the improvement of this new log is also very simple and crude. The single missile warhead that can be carried has a greater yield, and the terminal re-entry speed is faster, which can even be said to be ridiculously fast. This is a super doomsday weapon specially built for medium range and ultra fast penetration, based on the extensive use of special materials provided by Shianyu Group and the removal of the limit of tens of thousands of kilometers of range. The structure of the projectile is redesigned. Its range is less than 1,500 kilometers. It can carry 12 separately guided nuclear warheads at one time, and its terminal penetration speed exceeds Mach 120. This thing has limited use on Blue Star. It was designed to fight against those weaklings in the other world who think they are strong and are not afraid of thermal weapons. As expected, the demigods and gods in the sky are still watching the situation and have not intervened. The human, alien and dragon armies on the ground, whether you are practicing martial arts, playing magic, or practicing both magic and martial arts, all useless facing the penetration speed of 120 Mach. They realized something was wrong with their spiritual perception even when the nuclear warhead was still far away, but it was too late to escape. They didn't even have time to make effective actions. The nuclear warhead that fell from the sky like a meteor had completely covered the entire land. Following closely, suns bloomed one after another on this plane. Under the attack of 360 nuclear warheads with an equivalent of more than 3 million tons, the defense methods of the various forces in the magic world, which they thought could easily deal with the weapons of the other world and Mengchuan City, were like a joke. The 9th level Black Dragon, whose single combat power is invincible under the demigod, cannot withstand a tactical nuclear bomb with an equivalent of 100,000 tons. How can these people withstand these hundreds of large-yield strategic nuclear warheads? The east wind blows thousands of flowers at night and blows down the stars like rain. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 399. The east wind blows thousands of flowers at night and blows down stars like rain. Similar to the description in the poem, the sub-missile warheads that re-enter the atmosphere are like meteors, carrying the might of heaven. But unlike the poem, these warheads do not bring any beautiful hopes and expectations, but blood and fire, killing and death. When hundreds of super large nuclear warheads fall on a plane of less than 50,000 square kilometers at the same time, or to be more specific, these elite armies of various races in the magic world have actually reached an extremely dense position after their appearance and marching towards the time and space gate. Together, the position they stand at most is centered on the time and space gate, radiating no more than 1,000 square kilometers in all directions. Don't think this distance is very large. The magic city of Jiuzhou is more than 6,000 square kilometers, which means that it is now only about 1/6 the size of the magic city, and it is filled with millions of elite troops from all forces in the magic world. It was also a small area, but 360 hydrogen bombs with a single shot equivalent of 3 million tons were dropped. This density of bombing is the most primitive and direct energy output. Not to mention that those demigods and gods have not appeared. Even if they are in it now, the biggest difference from others is that they can sense the danger earlier with their spiritual perception and have the opportunity to escape from
This deathland that is about to become hell with their speed point as for resisting. This is almost impossible to do. If it were a Chindan, or Yuaniing cultivator in the world of serious cultivation, it might be possible to block such a blow point, but the gods of this world, not. If they don't run, they will only die here. And the people standing in the gate of time and space have witnessed the second actual combat of mankind since the development of this super weapon point, and this scale of nuclear weapons delivery has completely reached an unprecedented level. And it is hard to say whether there will be more in the future point after all, given the current situation. Under the guidance of the Shia group, nuclear weapons should not be on the stage of Blue Star for too long. This is most likely the only time that this kind of world-destroying weapon developed by humans on Blue Star will completely and unreservedly show its power. The power that originates from the sun directly leaves a permanent mark on the magic world, on this land, and in the hearts of the people in this world point. When the smoke dissipated and the dust settled, all the areas visible to the naked eye outside the gate of time and space had disappeared. The nuclear bomb craters that were thousands of meters or even thousands of meters deep, and the scattered crystals in the craters silently told what had just happened here. Apart from this, there was nothing else. Even the remains of armor and weapons could not be seen. Under the high temperature of tens of millions of degrees, almost everything disappeared in an instant. On the entire battlefield, only when the distance from the time-space gate is more than 100 kilometers can you see the remains of some swords and armors, and then the remains of people, and then some practitioners in the magic world who have been blown into disfigurement. Most of them are warriors with thick skin and flesh, and very few fragile magicians. Going further out, you can see some practitioners who are seriously injured, without a piece of good meat on their bodies, but can barely move. And if you want to see people who are only slightly injured, you have to go 200 kilometers away. This wave of attacks can be regarded as a direct annihilation of the magic world army that approached the time-space gate and wanted to rob it. But it is far from the point where these forces completely lose their combat effectiveness. After all, before coming here, everyone wanted to deal with the real owner of the time-space gate first. That is, Wei, the Lord of Mengcho and City. After dealing with the real owner, everyone will start the chicken eating competition to see who can finally grab this portal to the other world. People with a little bit of brains naturally cannot bet all their belongings on this wave. The ones that were wiped out by a wave of nuclear weapons just now were at most their vanguard troops. Of course, this does not mean that the losses caused by the bombing just now were not painful for them. In fact, this wave at least destroyed at least half of the combat power of all parties. This is not just not painful, but a real injury. What these forces cannot accept more than the direct loss of personnel is after seeing these weapons that seemed like heavenly punishment. Those soldiers who were lucky enough not to follow the first batch of troops to attack and waited for an opportunity in the camp to save their lives were completely terrified. There were so many legions of 8th and 9th level strongmen, but none of them came out alive after entering. Those who survived the bombing were almost all personnel who were responsible for logistics support in the rear while being bombed, or because they were far away from the bombing point. Who the hell is not afraid of this? And even if they were in a camp hundreds of kilometers away, they actually felt the impact of this wave of bombing. The terrifying sound of the earth shaking and the raging wind waves that blew directly hundreds of kilometers away all told these people that this was no different from a punishment from heaven. The so-called forbidden spells released by the 9th level magician were really not worth mentioning in front of this thing, and the damage to people was completely different. In short, after seeing the power of this thing, the warriors of various forces almost lost all their fighting spirit. Just kidding. Ordinary soldiers joined the army to fight for food and clothing, and often they have no choice at all, and they will starve to death if they desert. These monks join the army to fight for wealth and glory. It's not that they have no choice, they just want more. Even if they desert, as long as they are not caught, they can just find a corner on the continent to hide and live a life of luxury. If you ask them to fight a battle that can be won, there is absolutely no doubt that they will rush forward with knives in hand. In a battle with mixed results, they are willing to fight for a noble title and the future of their descendants when they encounter adversity and are likely to fail. They may not run away for wealth and glory and those chivalrous spirits, but now it is obvious that going up is a gift, and they will become cannon fodder in a minute, and you still let them go. Is it possible for them to go? Do you really think that they can become middle and high level warriors and magicians by being stupid? There was no need to order the remaining troops to march again. When the remaining soldiers of various forces saw this kind of heavenly punishment coming, but their leaders had no intention of retreating, a large-scale camp bombing occurred. A large number of so-called elite troops were scattered and fled madly in less than an hour. Chapter 400. This is in the magic world. If it was just ordinary soldiers running away, then sending some elites with certain cultivation to suppress them directly would easily solve the problem of camp bombing. But now the camp bombing is caused by these super elite troops whose average strength is at least the 6th level warriors. There are also a large number of 9th level warriors among them. Things have developed to this point, and the leaders of various forces are completely helpless and have no way to deal with it. After all, demigods and gods are detached from the world, and it is impossible for them to listen to their commands. The strongest they can command is only at the 9th level. Now these people want to run. Who will stop them? Well, in fact, there are still people who stop them. After seeing this terrifying bombing with their own eyes and sighing that this alien world is indeed something. Seeing that their own forces have actually experienced a large-scale rout, they finally couldn't help but stop it. These are the core combat forces of their forces, which have been cultivated with unknown time, energy, manpower, and material resources. It doesn't matter if half of them die. It's not difficult to make up for the lost people with the remaining half. But if the rest all run away, then the whole army will collapse. It's not something that can be done by spending time and money to rebuild an elite force of this scale. It's very complicated. Finally, after some demigods took action and killed a large number of high-level warriors who tried to escape and promised that they would not easily let them attack without a solution to those weapons, the battlefield slowly returned to calm again. Of course, the situation is calm for the time being, but those warriors and soldiers who were driven back to the barracks by the demigods, like sheep, are not calm at all. Because no one dares to guarantee that if they don't attack, those crazy people in Mengchuan City will let them go and not use terrifying weapons against them. After all, this is still the territory of the Mengchuan kingdom. There is no reason for them to ignore the barracks of these outsiders. It is reasonable to come and bomb them directly. But now they are facing the situation that they will die if they run away, and they will die if they don't run away. And the remaining high-level officials of various forces are also stunned by this wave of bombing. Even several leaders of the forces were blown up in the bombing. Now there is a big problem in front of them. What should they do next? Leave? Of course they can't leave. The demigods and gods behind them haven't spoken yet. Even if everyone dies here, they can't leave. But if they don't leave, they will fight again. Before they came, they only heard that there was a special weapon from another world in Mengchuan City, which had extremely fierce firepower. They thought they had studied these weapons thoroughly and made full preparations, so they came. But no one told them that there was such a big bomb in Mengchuan City. Is this still a magical world? What the hell are you doing? The first wave didn't hold on and was blown up. What difference would it make if they went again in the first wave? In the previous understanding of the weapons in Mengchuan City, the first information they got was that these weapons were very cheap and could be manufactured very quickly. With the continuous supply from the other world, Mengchuan City did not have a shortage of firepower at all. If they can bomb you in the first wave, they can bomb you in the second wave. So it is not only the soldiers and warriors who are in trouble now, but also the top leaders of various forces. However, after seeing this wave of bombing, the gods and demigods hiding in the clouds suddenly felt a sense of enlightenment. I finally understand why the people from Mengchuan City and the other world did this. It seems that they think they have weapons that can deal with us. Objectively speaking, the power of this weapon is indeed very strong. Even I feel it is very dangerous. If I'm in the core area of its explosion, I'm afraid that my fate will not be much better than those cannon fodder. That's right. The power is indeed very strong, and it poses some threat to gods like us, but the speed is still too slow. We are fully capable of avoiding this kind of attack in advance. Just As we don't know much about them, they probably don't know enough about us, so they think this weapon can deal with us. So they planned this incident, using a temptation that we absolutely cannot refuse to attract us, and then tried to use these weapons to kill us in one fell swoop. Unfortunately, they still underestimated the power of the gods. How can a mere mortal know the power of the gods? As long as we seize the gate of time and space, reach that world, and completely get rid of those shackles. Humph, be careful with your words. It's not time yet. Let's take down this door first. Old guys, after today, the sea is wide and the fish can jump, and the sky is high and the birds can fly. The grievances in the past have long been a thing of the past. I hope you will work together, and don't have those unnecessary little thoughts. This is natural. Once the success is achieved, a bigger world will be in front of us. There is no need for us to waste time here. I still have more things to do. It's a pity that the old guy Chiang didn't know how to raise his head. He actually believed what the younger generation said. It's just human nature. The older he gets, the more afraid of death he is. I guess he really thinks that those other worlds have some terrible trump cards in their hands that can catch us all in one fell swoop. These demigods and gods are not stupid. We were his abnormality in notifying the world directly when something as important as the space-time gate was built reveals something abnormal. They can even guess that the purpose of Wei Wei and Su Yi's plan is to catch them all in one fell swoop. That's why they have been hiding in the dark without showing their cards, but instead instructing their disciples to form forces to be cannon fodder, and the current result is indeed in their plan. Since they don't know what trump cards Mengchuan City has to deal with these gods, they might as well not show up. Anyway, apart from these trump cards, Mengchuan City's own strength is just like that. They have gathered the elite forces of all forces in the entire continent, and Mengchuan City has no power to resist with its own strength. Naturally, they can force the opponent to reveal their trump cards at that time. This trump card will be really scary, and even these gods will not be able to deal with it at all. Of course, they would scatter and run away, or simply slide to their knees at the speed of light. Please come to the other world. If this trump card is not a big threat to them, and they can handle it, then the next step is to strike hard and seize the gate of time and space. In their view, this wave of nuclear bombing is the latter. The power of the nuclear bomb is a threat to them, but the speed is too slow to hit them. Win. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.